These lectures of today are very important to help you to digest all the food which will be given to you during the whole week. So what is a right? What is a right? Do you know what is a right? Of course you know what is a right, but I'd like to destructure the whole thing, to destruction, to reconstruct afterwards.
Equality.
Okay, but so you have two things here. You are telling about a right too, but I say what is a right?
Okay.
Entitlement. So right too will come back later. A right is an entitlement. 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 That means I entitled to. Entitlement. What is an entitlement?
Something that you part of your something like you deserve. Yeah,
you deserve. You deserve. And when you deserve something, so you deserve something. So there are two elements. You deserve. You deserve what? Something. So there's something. Pardon?
more of a need than deserve.
A need. Okay.
Something you born with.
Need? Born with it. See, there are lots of elements, and this is whole at the heart of the issue of human rights. Deserve. My writing is not very good. I'm sorry. Need something. You said, something. You need, deserve something. That's it. Deserve, and who will give it to you? The government. For example, government? Society, yes?
Your son. People.
Government. People. Society. Pardon?
Yeah.
You yourself. Yourself.
You owe something to yourself?
Yeah.
You owe
You
something
fight for it.
for yourself.
Yeah. If you don't want it, then why?
Yourself. A right. A right. So how many elements are there in a right? How many elements? If you have to because you have lots of things here. You have lots of things. How many elements to define a right? What are the elements to define the right? Because you have lots of ideas. You, something, and the third one?
Who gives it to you?
You see, who gives it to you? Government, people, society. So, you, one. What is you? It's the beneficiary of the right? Beneficiary of the right. What is the need? You need, you said. You need or you deserve? What could be this? How can you qualify it?
Need is something that you cannot live without it.
Okay, so the need, but it can be something that you can live with it. You can live without it.
Yeah.
You can also live without it. It can be a need, but all the needs are not the same level.
Yes. There is a measurement.
You see, for example, now I distributed to you some excerpts from the press. And Saudian women, they are complaining they are not allowed to drive. So they started to demonstrate when Obama met with the king. So they started to demonstrate to get their right to drive. Is it a need that you cannot live without?
They can.
You can live without driving. So it's not really a basic need. Is it a basic need? Some people will consider that it's a basic need. If you forbid, for example, some people in the US, they are so used to drive. And there are lots of, sometimes you cannot even live without a car. And you cannot afford a driver. So they can consider the right to drive as a basic right. It depends which society in which you are living in. You know, what is basic, actually, what is basic differs in space. What is basic here is not basic there. And what is basic there might not be basic here. So it differs in space, but also in time. in time as well. You know, what is basic today might not be basic tomorrow, and what is not basic today might become basic tomorrow. So you have to analyze things in a vertical and horizontal way. Basic is it's a subjective concept. What is basic here might not be basic in Algeria, and vice versa. And what was basic yesterday might not be basic tomorrow. So concepts are fluctuating in time and in space. So you said a need. Okay, need, deserve, expectation, whatever. So we can say that this is the content of the right. So you have a who owes the right, you. You have the content, and then you have who owes you the right. So maybe one can summarize a right through this formula. Who owes what to whom? So I'm not used to use the board. Who owes what to whom? So there are three things: the who, the what, and the whom. Who?
What?
Are you following me?
Yeah.
The who, the what, and the whom. So the whom, is it easy to see who is the whom? The whom is you, because the right is for you. The what, you know, the content of the right. And the who owes you? Who owes you the right? I took it the other way around. The other way around. Who has the responsibility to give you the right? Who has the responsibility to give you the right? So if you are a young girl at home, you have some certain needs to eat, to sleep, to go to school. Who owes you the right, actually, when you're at home, when you're a baby?
Yes.
The parents, the parents. So you are the one who beneficiate from the right, but your parents should give you have the duty, because to each right there's a duty, rights and duty. My right is your duty. Your right is my duty. For example, the right to life. Right to life has also a duty. What is the duty? Which is corresponding to the right to life? The duty not to kill. You have the right to life, I have the right not to kill you. You have the right to property, I have the duty not to steal your property. So you see, there are corresponding rights and duties. That's why the concept of human rights, because now we haven't discussed of human rights, we have discussed about rights only. The concept of human rights is so distinct, I mean, it's so diverse. In some culture, you don't ask for rights. Let's say in my culture, in your culture as well, I mean, in the Islamic culture in general, we don't have rights, we don't feel rights. We mostly talk about duties. You know, you are born, you are raised in a certain culture. Myself, my parents never asked me to help them, never. But I felt the duty because I was raised in this culture. So I was, in a way, programmed to give them money whenever I have money. They never ask. They never ask. They didn't say, I have the right to. No, I felt that I have the duty to help them. So I was giving them money. So they never claimed their right because I fulfilled my duties. So we're going to come back to that. I think Dr. Amin Al-Midani will explain you this, I think, more in detail. And maybe also Dr. Seuss when he will come to Universality of Human Rights. So this is the issue of human rights. Who owes what to whom? So this is the basic idea which is behind the concept of human rights. And rights in general. Rights in general. Okay. Okay. Who owes what to whom? Can you read?
Yes.
So we said that this is. Who is the who?
Society. It's a universal thing, I could say.
Universal thing. You think so?
Yeah.
State. Okay. Let's say the state. The whom. Who is the whom? You?
You.
Citizen.
Yeah. Citizen. Citizen?
People.
People? What is a
Human.
citizen? Human. Is every human a citizen?
No.
Is every citizen a human?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm lost.
Me too.
Who owes room to her? You know, last time, 2 months ago, I read in the news, there's a man in France, he took a cat. He took a cat, he threw it 7 times. He was playing 7 times. And the cat fell, a young cat, 7 times. And I think the man was drunk. And they condemned him to 1 month of jail because of that.
So every living thing.
Every living things.
Anything that have a life, actually.
Do cats have rights in?
Yes, there's animal rights.
Really?
Yeah.
So you are more developed than Algeria. You have animals have rights.
And the environment has rights.
Okay, okay.
Environment have rights.
Who?
Environment, you cannot.
Okay, so the whom is not human then. The whom?
Every living thing.
Okay, okay. So the what? Yesterday I killed a mosquito, and I felt sad. I felt really sad. You know, I said it's him or me. 2 days ago when I was in Tanzania, you know, I just arrived from Tanzania. I said it's him or me. Maybe he has malaria. So I killed the mosquito. I said, Allah will forgive me. It's a being as well, you know.
Yeah.
But I said.
Even the ants.
Huh?
Yeah,
Even the ants.
Yeah.
Because I was putting myself in the shoes of a giant. Just imagine that there's a giant person who just smashes you. And I see the giant, and the giant kills me. I said, but why? I did nothing. And it kills me. And the same for the mosquito. The mosquito maybe was thinking, what did I do? And I preempted before I killed the mosquito. But there's no mosquito rights. But there are cats' rights, dogs' rights, donkey rights, camel rights.
Yes.
So the right. So the what is the right? The right. And then you have the whom. So the human, the animal, the tree, human, animal, tree, yes. So this is all right, huh? This is all right. Okay.
Sir,
Yes,
because if we give the rights for the human being,
yes.
or for the animals, and for the tree, they also give us a transaction of rights
Yes.
as well. So it's a kind of transaction.
Yeah, what do,
We owe people the rights. We need to give them.
yes,
As a beneficiary, they need to deliver the rights.
yes.
And as well, okay, by giving them the right, they give us also the right. They are protecting us. The environment protecting us because we are protecting the environment.
What does the cat do for you?
They eat the mouse.
Yeah, emotional therapy.
Emotional, yes, it might give you something, yeah, yeah. And
The
the
dogs protect you.
god,
Protect you.
The-
The cat keeps
Trees give
company
you
with you.
the tree, yes, the tree as well,
The trees gives you air.
Yes.
yes. So you see, there
What
are.
the mosquito gives you.
Pardon?
What the mosquito gives you.
You don't know.
Wait,
That's why you
I
can
will tell you something. Mosquitoes, if a mosquito stayed on a cup of water, it produces a poison.
Yes,
And then again, if the same mosquito was in the cup, stayed in the cup, it gives the same cup and like an antibiotic for the poison.
Yes.
So again, it helps us.
it helps
Yeah.
because everything in nature has, in a way, a purpose.
Yeah.
And in the chain, maybe directly like this, you don't see the purpose of a mosquito. But maybe the mosquito is also eating some bacteria. Is it eating other things, you know, which are dangerous? And it produces maybe useful product for human being. But you don't see that. So it's a chain. So everything is integrated. So it's a global approach of life. And so that is it's important. We are very far from law now. Huh? But law is just following the facts, you know. Law follows the facts. This is what we call le droit précède les faits. Le droit précède les faits, ou, in French, où les faits précèdent le droit. Facts are preceding the law. The law. That means law comes to regulate a situation which already exists. There's a problem, and it takes time before the problem is considered by law. It takes time. First you have the problem, and the problem is not solved for, like animals. You think that cat protection, there was cat protection 100 years ago?
No.
So now it became a legal body of law, part of law, animals' rights. So the facts existed long time ago. That's why I said the law, the facts precedes the law. Precedes the law. But sometimes it's the contrary. The law precedes the fact. Why? The law precedes the facts. In Yemen, you see this, I gave you this excerpts of the newspaper. So the child marriage, you know, this man who married an 8-year-old girl.
And then she passed away.
She passed away. It's tradition in Yemen and in some Arabic countries. You know, in my country as well, sometimes they don't get married at 8, but they get promised to get married, you know. Yeah. They know already to whom they're going to get married. But the marriage is not done at 8. It's done at 14. My mother was married at 14. She gave birth at 15. But 14, you can say that the woman is already pubier, you know. She's already a woman. But 8. So this is part of tradition. And then you have the Yemeni Minister of Human Rights who took the stand, who said this is unacceptable, this woman. So you see there's a Minister of Justice, the Minister of Human Rights, this lady. You have it I think it's on the...
Yeah.
This is the lady, but yes, the woman. You have the page. So it was not done in the proper order. Yes, yes, Yemeni Minister on Child Marriage. Enough is enough. So this minister, I'm sure that in time, she will get a law to be enacted by the parliament. So there will be a law forbidding marriage under 10, under the age of 10 or under the age of 14. So the law will be there. Is it enough? The law will be there.
No, it should be
But it will still continue.
Yeah.
So the law precedes then the facts. You have a law, but it still continues. It will take time for the mentality to change, education, etc., etc. But then you have already the sieve, l'épée de Damoclès, you know, the sieve on your... If you do something wrong, you might be punished by... So people will do it less and less. It will take time. It's like, you know, I used to compare that law and stone. What is the strongest, the law, the water or the stone? What is the strongest?
The water.
The water?
Yeah.
Really?
No.
Stone is very strong.
But by
Water, you see? Huh?
By time the water could be stronger.
Ah, by time, yes, water could be stronger with time. You see, time is a very important factor. So time can help a law to become from soft to hard. Law and this is the process of customary law. Customary law. Law which is not enacted by parliament or by the king, but it's done little by little. You know, you all come from the same background as I am. You maybe heard about some tradition in your, not maybe in Abu Dhabi, but for the area where you come from, the countryside, where you have your grandparents they own some land, but on the land you have a well. It's your grandfather land, well, on your land, but everybody comes to drink. It's your property, but people have the right to come and drink there. By custom, you know, little by little, they used to come because they don't have water on their land, so they used to come with their animals to drink the water of your water. It's your water, but everybody comes, so it's a custom because your grandfather has allowed it, and with time, nobody will debate that. So it's a custom. It's not a law, it's not written nowhere, but it's a custom because it has been done for years, for centuries, and with also the understanding that it became a right. So it's a custom. So things changed. So this is the custom. I will come back to this later. But maybe you're going to hear this concept in the course of this week. So what I wanted to come back is to the issue that sometimes the law precedes the fact. And sometimes the fact precedes the law. It's very important in the issue of human rights. It's very important. Now, let's say the last convention which was adopted, one of the last, is the Convention on Handicapped People. People have some rights, you know. Now, the government should provide for facilities for handicapped people, elevators, and yesterday, park place. Yesterday I went with my friend Dr. Al-Midani. I met him by chance in the city, so we went together back to his hotel. And 1 month ago I have a problem in my leg, you know, and I walk a little bit. I have problems to walk. And when you arrive at the Novotel, there were five stairs to get down. And for me it was an issue. Normally it's not an issue, I just get. And I shouted to the man at the reception, I said, what about old and handicapped people? He looked at me and said, there's an elevator there. Okay. So you see, they are providing for elevators, and now more and more, it becomes a duty of states, of universities, facilitation to go to the toilet with wheelchairs. So this is something which is very new. It's a new right. It was not a right 10 years ago. And it's not yet a right. It will become a right. So the law is preceding the facts. So maybe in 50 years, you will have everywhere facilities for handicapped people, everywhere. It will come in the mind of when you build a house, you will think about handicapped people. I'm coming back now to the issue of who owns what to whom. Okay. So we said that it can be animals, it can be trees, it can be human beings. Huh? What's this? Your bag? Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, it's your bag. Yeah. I will take it.
No, it's okay.
No, I'll take it, please. It's a beautiful bag. I like it. Yves Saint Laurent will keep it for my daughter. Wow, she will love it. What is it? Is it yours?
Yeah.
Really? It's mine now.
But it's mine.
No, it's mine.
How did the ownership transfer to you, sir?
How?
How did the ownership transfer to you?
There's a provision in the French civil code which says, en fait de meubles, possession vos titres. In fact of movable property, the fact that you own it is yours. So you have to prove it. You have to prove that it's not mine.
Then open it and see.
Open it and see the content.
No, why?
Then you're violating personal rights if you opened it, right?
Okay, so what can you do now?
Go to the police.
Ah, you go to the police.
Sue them.
Sue them. And who is going to do this?
Me.
You're going to go to court?
But you're not going to hear. No, not
Huh?
I will try to take it at first and then...
Yes, by force. Huh?
Yeah.
Negotiation.
You should make a complaint against them.
You should make a complaint. Huh? To whom?
To the police.
And who is going to do the complaint?
She will.
Oh, okay, so she has the right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which right are you going to complain of?
Yeah.
Of ownership.
So this is the right of property. So the what is property. Eh?
Yeah.
The whom is who is you.
Yeah.
And who owes you the right to property?
The government.
The government. But in that case, it has to the government. But I am the one who owes you. I have to respect your right to property. Eh? But if I don't respect it, what happens?
Then basically you're destroying.
You probably get punished.
By whom?
The government.
And who has the duty to punish me?
The state.
The state. Eh? The
The
state.
intervention. There is always the intermediate, company or states or government to interfere.
To interfere. Eh?
To protect both rights.
That's a pity because it's a beautiful bag, and I can see that there's also a beautiful phone inside, and I think it's an iPhone 5. Eh? I bought the same for my daughter. I'm very jealous. I should have one. So I will give it back to you because I'm so afraid to go to the judge because I know how judges are mean. I am one of them. But so you said, okay. So you can go to the judge. But what about the cat? I was talking about the cat before. Please. Yeah.
Oui, je voulais dire que il y a des affaires, s'ils ont déjà traité ça,
Oui.
c'est pas la peine d'y
Oui,
insister.
très bien.
Je vais leur dire.
D'accord, qu'ils me le disent. Parce que là, je suis en train de décortiquer ce que c'est qu'un droit. C'est là,
Okay.
voilà.
So if we have covered certain things that you are covering, say it. so that you don't go over the same things again.
Please, yes, tell me.
Actually, it's interesting.
It's
Yeah,
interesting.
it's nice
Ah.
to take another
Yeah.
like point of view from.
He's a
other
judge.
person.
Yeah, well,
But he's nervous.
He's what?
You scared him, he's nervous.
He's nervous.
I'm very nervous.
As long as he doesn't throw this ball at you, it's okay. If you have any things that you have covered, okay, say it so that we go over something else. Mashi?
Barakallahu fik. Yes, that's right. So,
About
what-
the cat.
the cat. What about the cat?
Any people who
Yeah.
see
Yes.
action have the right
Yes.
to report.
To report.
Yes.
But why the cat is not reporting himself?
Because it can't protect itself.
Yes.
It cannot, huh?
Like a child cannot
Yeah.
protect
I mean, he can
themselves.
scratch you, but
Okay, okay. Okay, I understand. Okay, I understand. Maybe I'm trying to understand what you're saying. I'm trying to understand. So maybe the cat is...
Object.
Ah! The cat is the object of the right. What is the difference? What would be the other concept close to which is different from object? Ah, subject. Wow. I'm impressed. Subject. I like that. Subject. Object, subject. When I stole your bag, were you object of the right in a way or not? You're not the object of the right of property? No? This is discussable. This is a philosophical discussion. But you are subject. For sure you are subject. Huh? What about the cat?
It's the object.
The cat is the object. The tree is the object. Huh? So the cat is the object. You are the subject. Why are you subject? No, please go ahead. You know, when you say mistakes, it improves. No, I always say mistakes too. You know, but I'm sure it's not a mistake that you're gonna say. You're gonna say something very full of sense.
I think the difference between object and subject, you don't have to give something back, but as a subject you have to be submissive to the law or something.
You have to be submissive
To the law.
when you are subject.
Yeah. As an object you don't have to follow the law, but as a subject the law is not above you.
Ah, okay, I understand. That means the cat doesn't have any duty.
Yeah.
The tree neither. So this is an idea. This is the idea. And the subject has duties.
Yeah, it has to give something back.
It has to give something back. Okay, okay. Okay, what could be another difference? In my understanding, the lady there is also the object of law. She is also the object of law because she is protected by law. Her and her right to property is protected by law. She is the object. She is already the object, but she has something more than the object. She is more than an object because she can also defend herself. She can defend herself. So the idea is good. Yeah. The owner of the subject has duties and rights. The subject, duties and rights. But she can defend herself. That means she can claim. She can claim her right. She can claim it. She can claim it. She can go to the judge. She can go to the police. You can go to the police. You have the right, so you are the subject of a right. You can action it. You can do some positive thing in order to have your right implemented. Whereas the cat cannot do it. The cat cannot do it. You know, there was a you know, in Switzerland. Switzerland is they say it's the most advanced democracy in the world because citizens can, if 100 citizens agree, they sign to change the law, the government has to study the idea of changing the law. That means if you're not happy with something in the law, you can change the law by asking the government to do it. But for that, you need 100,000. And if you have the 100,000 signature, you can bring the problem to the law, to the government, here at the level of the Geneva or at the level of the province or at the level of the state in the capital city. And at one stage they tried to provide, they have already rights, the animals have rights already here, but to provide rights to legal counsel to animals, legal counsel. That means an animal, if he has been mistreated, the government should pay the lawyer to defend the animal. Because you can always complain, you call the police, look, my neighbor is beating his cat. Okay, the police will come, and that's it. But who is going to protect the right of, who is going to the court to protect the right, to claim the right of the cat? Nobody will really do it, because as a neighbor, you're not going to pay for a lawyer. So I'm not going to pay for a lawyer for my neighbor's cat.
I have, there is a like an organization, it's a voluntary organization.
Yes.
Non-governmental, I think, in some states in United States of America, which protects animals.
Yes.
It's called the Animal Cops.
Animal cops, yeah.
Whenever there is a complaint about misabuse for a certain kind of animal, they call the cops. The cops come once, twice, check on the situation, ask people, ask witnesses, and then they take the case to the court.
Yes.
And the person is actually take like 2 or 3 months in prison. It depends what he did to the animal, and also he pays a fine.
He pays a fine.
Yep.
So he's protected. There's an NGO
Yes.
who takes,
Yes.
who claims the right of the cat,
Yes.
of the dog. Eh?
Yes.
But the animal is still not he stays an object, because he cannot claim himself. Eh? He cannot claim himself. But maybe he will find a voice, and the NGO becomes the voice. Eh? Like here, they want to get a lawyer to the animal, so the animal can get a voice in order to go to the judge. So there's a kind of subjectivization of the cat. The cat might get is getting subjectivization. He has the right to claim. Not only he has the right, but maybe he will claim it. But it's not yet there. We're not yet there. Even with the child. The child, you mentioned the child. The child has rights as well, but is an object of the right, because he cannot action it. He cannot go to the court. In Holland, in Netherlands, you have a hotline for children. So if a child is abused, he can call this, and then an NGO will come also help him. But he's still an object, because he's under 18 or under 16. What can he do? He cannot go to the judge. Now, more and more, in some countries, they are listening to the child. The child can go to court, But most of the time, in most of the countries, it's not yet there. It's not yet there. Maybe in 100 years, in all the countries of the world, the child could go to court, straight to go to the judge. But no, it's not yet the case. Somebody has to do it for him. That's why it's still an object of national law. So this is the difference between subject and object. Subject, you have a right, but you can claim it. Object, you have a right, but you cannot claim it. So this is the main difference between subject and object. This is very important. So now we are talking about subject, object, state, who owns. Oh, we have many concepts here. So this is at national level. Why did you come to Geneva, by the way? Is it to visit the lake or the mountains? You went to Chamonix? You enjoyed it? But you came to do what here? Why did you come to Geneva? I'm interested.
To discuss more about the human rights.
Yes.
Know more the concept, what the meaning of the human rights.
Yes. But why in Geneva? Why not in Abu Dhabi? Why in Geneva?
They have more experience.
They have more experience. You think so?
Because we want to.
Most of the organization of human rights, they're based here.
Organization of Human Rights.
And also place that you are here today giving us a lesson. If we are in somewhere else, then we would not meet you.
They would have paid the ticket for me. I would have gone. I already came to Abu Dhabi. I taught there to diplomats. I would love to come back there. It's a nice place.
Yeah.
So they would have gone instead of bringing you all here. But you said something interesting. There are organizations here with protecting human rights, huh?
Yeah, there's some based here to make it to make their message
Yes.
faster, so the world will understand.
But there are no organization in Abu Dhabi or in the Emirates.
There are.
Which there are some organization protecting human rights.
Yes, but they're not.
Really?
Yes.
You are civilized too.
Very. But
always about, trying to find what's new in the world, what's new in Geneva.
Yes.
What's new in
But why Geneva? Why not? Why you are not thinking about Algeria? Algiers. We are also civilized. We have also organizations dealing with human rights in Algeria. Why Geneva?
I think because the reason we're here is to show people that human rights applies to everybody, and to add to human rights our perspective of human rights.
Yes.
Because the West has a certain perspective, and then some things don't apply to our culture or our society, and they think that it's a violation of human rights, but it isn't. It's part of our culture. And to add to
that, huh?
the basic human right, there is other human rights that people might not be aware of or not have a full understanding of why they are the way they are. So that's why we're here to represent, and we add to that.
Emirates, huh?
Yeah.
So you are coming from the Emirates, huh? What is the Emirates? It's an NGO? What?
A state.
A state, yeah. It's a state. Okay, and here you came to Geneva. You said other perspectives, huh? Coming from where?
East to west.
Other states, huh? Other states. But why didn't you go to each state? Why Geneva in particular?
Because it's the center of all those ideas.
Center of all ideas.
Why do so many tickets?
So many?
Tickets.
Ah, yes, airplanes, so it's safe. Huh? Okay, but they could have brought experts from all over the world, from each country, to come to Abu Dhabi to do it there. But okay, so this is the idea, is to have a kind of merging, huh? From other states. Huh? So at the state of, at the level of Abu Dhabi, of the Emirates, it's the national level. So you came here to have the I wanted to hear this. So the international level, which is a mix of all the national concepts, international. So this is the national level. Up. National. I didn't come here to teach you things, because things you can find them everywhere. Now on internet you go. My daughter is teaching me lots of things. She goes to internet. But I'm trying. I hope at the end you will go with something else. Try to think in a certain way in order to understand the concept of human rights in particular. And once you understand this issue through the eyes of international law, you can understand all the problems which are dealt with at the international level, because you are studying international relations. So, Emirates and Geneva. Geneva, it's international, you said. Up. International. National. Inter. That means inter, between nations. International. This is Geneva. But Geneva is just a city. Switzerland is a city, but when you talk about it, there are some, you said about organizations before. So the organizations are, main organizations in Geneva? UN. Okay, United Nations, which is an international organization. International organization. But I still don't understand why you came to Geneva. Because you said that you have rights. You have already rights. Madam, your bag, I've stolen your bag. You could have gone to the judge in Abu Dhabi or in Geneva, and that's it. The matter is solved. It's solved at the national level. At the national level, your right has been, let's say you can claim your right and you get reparation. I go to jail, I give you back your bag. The matter is there. You go to the judge. So the state has to protect your right to property. And then you are happy. Alhamdulillah, it's fine. You go back home. I go to jail. But maybe some of you will say to the judge, no, it's not true. He didn't steal the bag. She gave it to him. Or it was a mistake. He thought it was his bag, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I won't be in jail. Maybe. But Why do you need international law?
I think the international law is for people, or for states actually, to know what they can do and what they cannot do, to know what's the right and what's not the right.
Okay.
Like there is a law of seas, for example.
Yes.
They also have the law for the borders.
Yes.
There is a fight over borders in some countries.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, in some like third world countries, Africa, for example, Sudan, now it's separated into two. Korea, separated into two.
Yes.
And it's only one country.
So international law, yeah.
Even China, but no, actually China, it wasn't separated into two. It was, yeah, it's another case. Sorry.
International law is stronger.
It's another case. It's political case, and you don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, not our issue right
Politics.
now.
But borders are not my issue neither. We are talking about borders. Who cares about borders? I didn't talk about borders. Why are you talking about borders now in Sudan? Why? We are talking about human rights now.
Yeah, I know, but still, this is an international thing.
But China is an international thing too. Why don't you talk about China?
You want me to talk about China?
Let's talk about China.
Okay, let's talk about China. No, I'm just giving an example.
Ah, okay. You are talking about an example of the importance of international law.
Yes.
But come to the point. Why is international law important for the right to property of, what's your name? Fatma.
Because you have two different versions.
Fatima, the name of my sister, Fatima, my eldest sister. So Fatima, she has the right to property. Why is international coming in the picture? Why?
In case national level law doesn't work.
Ah,
As I said,
voila.
it's stronger.
Voila, in case of national law doesn't work. So you have the national level, the state, it's the national level. And if this is not solved at this state, you go up at the international level. So this is the idea. This is the idea. That's how Sahara international law comes into the picture as far as human rights is concerned. If it's not settled at the national law, at the national level, then you go at the international level.
And what if international level it is also not yet?
But you can ask God, inshallah. Then
Then Karim.
But there is no then.
there's no then, no. Then it's over.
It should be an action.
It's over. It's over. There should be an action. We're going to come back to that. International law. So Geneva is an important city because there are lots of international organizations here. And one of the first organizations which was created, international organization, is the International Committee of the Red Cross, which is an organization, international, non-international. It is international, but is it governmental, non-governmental? It's a hybrid subject. It's not yet defined. But it's an organization made with international Red Crosses. It's a complex issue, but I'm not going to get into this because the ICRC, the Red Cross organization, you're going to meet somebody from the Red Cross this week. It's an organization which is based and rooted in the national law of Switzerland. In Geneva, it has been registered like a company. But it has made lots of fruits all over the world. You have Red Crosses and you have Red Crescents. In the Muslim countries, you have the Red Crescents, which are societies of Red Cross societies, and which are gathered into an international society, which is based here, close to the mosque. If you have the chance to visit the mosque, they have a beautiful mosque here. Close to the mosque, there's this Société de la Croix-Rouge. It's an international organization which incorporates all the Red Crosses and the Crescent, and the lion also. There's for Iran. The Republic of Iran has the lion symbol for the Red Cross, the humanitarian law, let's say. So in 1864, this organization was created in Geneva. ICRC, International Committee of the Red Cross. International committee of the Red Cross. Oh. I see the Red Cross. Let's say International Committee of the Red Cross. 1864. What is this organization doing?
Doing charity work and giving out supplies, helping people in need.
Only?
Mostly.
But at the origin, why is it created at the origin?
Wasn't it also like for religious purposes in the beginning?
Religious,
Missionary work?
missionary, at the very origin.
Yeah.
It was for, you see it sometimes in wars in Syria. You see it in Syria. You see the cars with the Red Cross on it going from one place to the other one. So they go to protect civilians, fighters as well. They try. So this organization has been created in order to protect certain categories of people. Certain categories of people. And in 1864, they adopted, that's why it's an important date, a convention to protect the rights of the soldier, the right of the soldiers.
One for all, all for one.
Pardon?
One for all for one.
This is the musketeers. Un pour tous.
The slogan of
It's
Switzerland.
In Switzerland? Really? Ah, okay. So you see, I came to learn as well. Un pour tous, yeah. Tous pour un. The soldier, to protect the soldier. So the idea comes from a man, Henri Dunant, a Swiss man, a Swiss. So you will understand how business is linked to international law, humanitarian law. How the law precedes the facts. How the law precedes the facts. So Henri Dunant is a Swiss man who he was a businessman, and he has some business in Algeria. Algeria was a colonized country. My country was colonized by France. So he has some businesses in Algeria, mainly representing companies here who have land in Algeria. Land, they were growing oranges, wine, wheat, lots of things. And one day, so he got French, he got the French citizenship, etc., etc. And then he bought his own land there to make business. He made his own land because he thought that in a certain area of Algeria, the area I'm coming from, they had wheat, you know, the wheat to make bread, but they don't have the flour to make it, you know, la farine, the flour. So in order to, from wheat to flour, you need to grind it to make it powder. So he wanted to build a mill to grind the wheat to make flour, to make bread and to sell it. But he was confronted with the administration, lots of problems with the administration, you know, to get the authorization to build the mill. So he said, I will see the emperor himself, the emperor of France. I will go and see the emperor. So he wrote a nice letter to him, praising him, saying how good he is. And then he wrote a second letter in order to meet him. And the emperor said, okay, let's meet. So he went, and the emperor was actually on the front. He was on war. He was in the south, he was in Italy, in the north of Italy. He was fighting with the Italian people against the Austrian. There was the war. So in 1959, 1959, he went to Solferino. Solferino is the name of the city, so the battlefield. He went there to meet the emperor. He met the emperor, and then he was disgusted to see the war. The war was over, but he see people dying on the floor, without legs, alone. They were not dead, but they were dying, asking for help. And he said, but who is helping those people? Nobody. So they were killing each other, and that's it. So they were agonizing on the ground. So his heart was moved. And he said, but we can do something maybe for that. He came back to Geneva, and he met with some of his friends. You know, they had a learned society, a society where people were coming and meet and discuss issues. It was in the old town, La Vieille Ville here. Maybe you're going to visit the old town. So he met with certain of his friends, 4, Mr. Dufour, Mr. Appia, Mr. Monnier, and the other one, Monoir, 4. So there were 5. He discussed with them and decided to raise the awareness of the government of Switzerland, say maybe you should do something. So then they created the society. They created this society in before 64. Before they created this society, and they pushed for the organization of a conference where all the states will come to discuss a convention to protect the rights of soldiers. So this is the beginning of international humanitarian law, which has some roots in the Quran as well. You know, during the jihad, there are some rules also. You know, you can kill people, but there are ways to kill the person. If the person is dead, you don't kill. I mean, if you just have to neutralize. The meaning of war is not to neutralize the other one. It's not to make him suffer without use, you know. So this is how the idea of humanitarian law started, international humanitarian law. So this organization now, the main purpose of it has, of course, now it has lots of purposes. But the main purpose is to implement, to make sure that the governments are implementing the laws of war and the laws of humanitarian law to protect individuals, So this is the first convention which has adopted in order to protect the soldier. The soldier. At the beginning it was the soldier only. The soldier. But then this convention made lots of babies. The main babies, you might know them, are the 1949 convention. 1949 convention, Geneva Convention. So 4 conventions to protect the individuals, also the civilians. Civilians has done nothing, you know. Why should you kill a kid, or a woman, or an old person? It's not necessary. So they decided to say, okay, let's humanize as much as we can the war. The war is not human, but let's make it more human. So if you kill somebody, don't overuse the weapons, you know. Kill somebody with a bullet, but don't use grenades which are don't use bullets which have bullets inside. You know, they have bullets. In a bullet, when it comes into your body, it explodes, and they have many other bullets in it. So your body is totally disintegrated. Why? Just kill with one bullet is enough. Don't use mines for kids, because the mine, it's there forever. You put it, and it's there. And then when the war is ended, it's still there. Why do you use this kind of mines? Even in peace, war is still there. So they are thinking to use intelligent mines. That means after 7 years, the mine cannot explode anymore. But it takes time. You know, last week, there were 3 people killed in France. 3 people in the north of France. They worked on a bomb which was there for 100 years in the war, the First World War. It was there, planted there in 1914, maybe 1915, 1916, 100 years ago. They worked there, they were playing there in the field. Psh, boom. And this happens still every day in Angola, in Asia, I mean in certain countries of Africa or in Asia. So this organization is promoting this kind of law to forbid, to make it more, to make a war more clean, if a war can be clean. International law now. Huh? So in the very beginning of mankind, let's say not mankind, let's not come back to the Prophet Muhammad, but maybe during the Prophet Muhammad at that time already, there was the only people who were protected were who have rights. Now we are talking about human rights now, human rights. What is the meaning of human rights? Human rights. What is the meaning of human rights? Did you study this with Dr. Sous? Yeah. Yes. What is human rights? It's rights that you possess as a human being, because you are human. Because before you made a distinction between citizen. You talked about citizen before. A citizen is somebody who belongs to a state. You are Emirati. I'm citizen. So I own certain rights because I'm Emirati. In your country, you have certain rights that you have. but foreigners don't have. For example, the right to drive a car, huh?
Free education.
Free education, okay, free education.
Healthcare.
Healthcare, okay. So this is a citizen right in your country, yeah? Pardon?
There are many.
There are many. That's true. If I go to Abu Dhabi with my daughter, if my daughter goes to school, she cannot go to school. There are no public schools in Abu Dhabi.
No,
No, there is public. They accept her.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yes.
so, but
needs to pay a small fee.
small,
Yeah.
small fee. But it's still, the government is private, it's not a lot. It's not like if I put it at the international school.
Yeah.
So I pay maybe $50 a month or $100. But the government is still providing for the right of education of an Algerian girl. Huh? But there are other rights which are more close to the sovereignty of the state, which are more the right to vote,
Like vote and elect.
voting. Yeah? Let's say the right to vote belongs to the citizen. You can choose who gonna rule you. But in your country it's different because you have sheikhs.
We can vote for who represent our imams of the FNC.
Exactly. So you have the right to vote. But me, I wouldn't have the right to vote.
No.
So it's not a human right in a way. It's a citizen right. Huh? But there are rights there that I would owe as I will. Some rights that I would be mine, even if I'm not a citizen. Huh? For example.
Right to fair trials.
Yes. Yes. The right to property.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not Emirati. I mean. Huh? So this is more human rights than a citizen right. Huh?
It's like a kind of moral that every individual needs to have. Also, if you're in other country, it is basically that you need to maintain this kind of right. The right of respect. And the right to not being, like not having that kind of racist. This is implemented in our country. We need to respect others. We have lots of 200 nationals.
Basic rights.
Basic rights.
Fundamental rights. Huh? This is a fundamental rights. I'm sure you don't still have the right to have your teacher writing correctly. I don't have the duty to do it. So basic and fundamental. I'm trying to write very quickly. Basic fundamental rights, huh? That you own as a human. But this is new, actually. This is new. This whole history of human rights is new. I told you about the soldier before, the soldier. But before the soldier, who have rights at that time? 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Let's say 200 years ago, in 1800. In 1800. Pardon? The rulers. The rulers, they have rights.
The upper class, as they classify it.
Only men had right before.
Or men. True. Upper class men.
This is not the subject of the topic today. Huh? Rulers, they have rights.
Yeah.
And the people who owns was as well, bourgeoisie.
Bourgeoisie, yes, they have rights. But now I don't really care about the rights of at the national level. I'm talking about, now we are at the international level, because we said that international law comes to protect individuals, international law. Huh? The issue at national level, we discussed it already. Now I'm trying to explain why international law is coming into picture. Why? At the international level, who was protected at that time? I said that the soldier was one of the first persons who was protected because he was a soldier. He was protected by the international community. Not only by France, because at that time the Emirates were not part of the international community. They were ruled by Britain. It was not yet a state in the international scene. But countries they agreed to protect the soldiers at the international level. But before the soldier, you said the rulers, huh? Yeah, the representative of the rulers, the diplomats, were protected also, the special envoys.
Yeah.
Special envoys, huh? Special envoys. Let's say if there were a war between two countries, if I am the special envoy of let's say, the Emirates, if there's a war with Algeria, As an Algerian, I come to discuss peace with your country. You're not going to kill me. You're going to respect me because I came to discuss peace. Even if we are in war, we are fighting. People are on the ground, they are fighting each other. But me, as a diplomat, I was sent by the King of Algeria to meet the King of the Emirates to discuss. So I'm protected. I have immunities. I have diplomatic immunities. I have a red passport, so I show you my passport. You respect me because I'm a diplomat. Ambassadors at that time. In each country, people have states, rulers of one country were represented by their own individuals in another country, even if there was no war, just for the diplomatic relations. So those people were protected. You cannot touch them. You cannot touch their body. They cannot touch their belonging. So they have immunities. They have immunities. At that time, they were calling that. You see, if you read the diplomatic passport, it's written that all states have to respect the bearer, and you have to respect. Yes, you are requested to extend. You are requested. This is for all states of the world. You are requested to extend to the bearer the courtesy, facilities, privilege, and immunities which pertains to his office, and to facilitate by all suitable means the journey and mission to which he is engaged. And it's written in many languages, including Arabic. So then you show that they are respecting. They don't touch you. But they don't touch me. Why they don't touch me? They don't touch me because I'm a human being? No.
They're afraid of the consequences.
Yes. But they are protecting me, they are respecting me, not because I'm Fatsah Ouguergouz.
No, because they're respecting you because you're representing the big head.
Exactly, I'm respecting the rule. They are respecting the state behind me.
Yes, because if they have not respected you, then they are basically not respecting the whole state.
Exactly, exactly. So they respect me not as a human being. They were respecting me because the rights of Algeria behind the state, the sovereignty of the state which is behind me. So these were the first person protected, but it's not a good example. The second kind of person which were protected are the foreigners. Yes, the foreigners were protected at that time. But who were the foreigners? The foreigners at that time were mostly investors. Investors, people coming from France, going to Egypt or in the Ottoman Empire, they were investing money. So it's not like today, you have migrant workers, students traveling all over the world. At that time, it was more businessmen. They were going to countries to invest. Like Henri Dunant, the man I was talking about, he was Swiss. He went to Algeria to invest. But then in order to invest, you need to be safe. You need a certain basic to make business, to protect certain rights. And one of the rights was the right to property. The right to property. You have to respect the rights of foreigners, the right of property of foreigners. Because otherwise, if I know that if I go to the Emirates and you can do whatever you want with me, with my property, I will never go to invest money there. I'm not going to invest billions of dollars to build a factory if I know that the next day the government of the Emirates will say, goodbye, Mr. Ouguergouz, goodbye, you go. Yes, he can say that, but I can go to court and I need to be indemnized. He has to give me money. So my right to property should be protected, and my right to go to court, to the judge, should be protected as well. So there were some basic rights owned to the foreigner at that time, only to the foreigner. But why? They were not owned to me again, they were owned to my country, Algeria. In respect, they were respecting my country in my name, So they were the rights because I was a foreigner. And you know that there are people, they don't have any state, they don't have any status, they don't have any land, citizenship. There are people who are stateless. They don't have any, at one stage, Palestine people, Yeah. Now they have passports from this country or this country. Now it's different. Now, but 30 years ago, I heard that Dr. Seuss has the Algerian passport. When he was ambassador in Paris, he was holding the Algerian passport. I know one of my former friend, Ambassador Bejawi, who was in Paris, when he was in Geneva during the war, Algerian war, he has the Yemenite passport. He has the passport of Yemen, because Algeria was not recognized. So he has, but there are people, so those people were not, if they didn't have this passport, they were apatride, nobody behind him. So if I didn't have any state behind me, I go to invest in France. If France take my property, no state is behind me. So who cares? I don't have rights. I have rights only if I hold a citizenship. So the first rights which were protected, as I mentioned, before the soldier, there was the diplomats, special envoys, and the foreigner. Pardon?
Business.
Mostly, but not only business, because your right to life also, they cannot attend to your right to life arbitrarily. You need, before they cannot just kill you like this. You have to be sentenced by a judge, and you should have access to certain guarantees. There were certain rights which were protected as a foreigner. As a foreigner, you have again the fundamental rights we're talking about. Life, right to life, to due process of law. Let's say due process of law is a concept which gives you the guarantees. When you are not happy with something, you go to the judge and you need certain guarantees. That means, for example, you need to know why, what are you accused of, so then you can defend yourself. You need to be judged by a judge. You need to have access to a lawyer, for example. If you don't speak the language, they need to translate for you. You need the assistance of an interpreter. So there are some guarantees like this. You have to be heard by a judge, let's say, 24 hours after you have been arrested. They cannot keep you 1 year in jail, and then you go to the judge to hear. I just came from Arusha. We have issued 4 judgments last week, Friday. 4 judgments, and one of the judgments was a man who was complaining, Mr. Chacha, who was complaining that the government of Tanzania took him 6 years. The guy stayed 6 years in jail without having the access to he kept complaining. I need to see the judge. So he wrote to the Minister of Justice, the Minister of Interior, the National Commission of Human Rights. He was writing here and there. Every time they say, no, the letter with which you wrote to us is not correct. You should have written it with different paper. You have technicalities. So they were playing with him in a way. So the guy was, and at the end, so this man was charged with murder. He was charged with robbery, armed robbery. He was charged with rapes. He was charged with 9 counts of criminal offenses, 9. But at the end, he was released. There was no evidence, no proof. So the guy was complaining that he was a victim of harassment by some people who didn't like him. It can happen in the country. Maybe he was lying, maybe not, I don't know. But the fact is, he stayed 6 years in jail without having its right due process of law. Due process of law. The guarantees, It's not forbidden to put somebody in jail. It's not forbidden to kill him. To have the death penalty. In some countries it still exists. But you need to have first been sentenced in a way which fits, which respect a certain numbers of guarantees. If those guarantees are not respected, you have been arbitrarily killed, arbitrarily sentenced.
Like they say, they mentioned that human rights, everyone is innocent until proven.
For example, until proven. Yes. So this is an example.
But some people cannot be in front of a court of law. Like in Cuba, most of the political arrests are not in front of a judge. They just jail them. They just jail them? Yeah.
Without seeing the judge. Or sometimes they see the judge, but the judge is doing just mechanical work, So they say, oh, but you have seen the judge. You cannot have seen the judge. The state is defending himself like this. But then if you really look, you see that the judge didn't listen to the person, or the person didn't really understood what the judges were telling to him. It's very... those issues are more and more complex. Sometimes you hear... I will just make a small break now for... it's a case that I was busy with when I was at the International Court of Justice in The Hague. Mexico complained. No, actually the first case, yes, was from Argentina. And then it was Paraguay, and then Mexico. If you are arrested today, if you are arrested here, that you have committed an offense. by the Swiss government. Now we are tourists here. You go, you walk in the street, you drive a car, you are driving a car, and you hit somebody and you kill the person. And then you are taken to jail, and they jail you, etc. You are taken to jail. But there's the law which protects you. Is the Consular Convention, which has been adopted in Vienna in 1963, about consular protection. And in this particular treaty, which has been signed by all the countries of the world, in 63 there was the Diplomatic Convention and the Consular Convention. The Diplomatic Convention was issuing all the provision I was mentioning in my diplomatic passport. These are diplomatic issues protecting the ambassadors. But consular are protecting the consuls, but also the citizens. And one provision in this convention allows you to call your ambassador. You have the right to call your ambassador. If you are here, they should give you the right. First, they arrest you. They said, but Amna, you have the right. We arrest you. You have killed somebody. We don't know if it's true or not, how it happened. But you have the right to call your lawyer, and you have the right to call your ambassador. So your ambassador needs to know that you are here. So most of these people in the US, they have not been allowed, mostly poor people from Mexico, Paraguay, Southern American countries. They didn't be allowed to call their ambassador. And they were sentenced to death. And they were executed. And Mexico came to protect, to say, but it's not correct. You don't respect laws. You have to respect the laws. You have to respect the Vienna Convention of 1963. Whenever you arrest my citizen has the right to call my consul in Washington, in New York, or in California, whatever. But you haven't did this, so this person has been convicted arbitrarily, without having the right to call the ambassador. So this is a right. Also, this now it's part of due process of law. It became part of due process of law. So this is one of the rights which is provided by international law to protect the foreigner. Due process of law and property. So those are the rights. You know, I'm making lots of. I go from one subject to the other one, but the idea is to make you understand the evolution of human rights protection. And once you have understood all of this, we can go very quickly. The right to life, due process of law, property. Those were the basic rights to which foreigners were entitled. Those are very basic. It was not the right to vote. It was not the right to drive a car. It was not the right to education. It was not the right to health. No, basic. Don't kill me. But if you kill me, you have the right to kill me if I did an offense. But don't steal my property. But if you do it, bring me to the judge. Bring me to the judge, and the judge will decide if I deserve to be killed, and he will see if I deserve to have the right to property. So those were the basic rights. You were talking about the basic rights before. Huh? Foreigners, soldier. So in the beginning, it was the diplomats and the foreigners, and then the soldier. But in between, they were another category of people who were protected 100 years ago. It's the slave. In the slave was also, slavery. In the early 90s, some states, like Britain, started to issue laws to forbid the slave trade. Some churches, some religious organizations were saying that it's inhuman to have people treated this way. Those are human beings. They have a soul. They should be respected as a fellow brothers. So you cannot buy them and sell them, and you cannot use them. So there's a movement starting in the early 90s, 1820. Subjectivization. Huh? Yes. We're going to come back to that. We're going to come back. It's interesting. So they were starting to protect the person who was enslaved person. First, they started to forbid the commerce, the trade. It's forbidden to sell and buy. You can use the slave if you have it already. If you have a slave, you still can use it. But let's start to prohibit the trade. Don't sell and buy. Don't take them from Africa to America, from Africa, if you are there, if they are already working in your fields, they can still work. They are still, of course, we wish that they will be freed. But the first step, at least, don't buy and sell. So it started in early 90s, and then little by little, there were conventions which were adopted to forbid the trade and then the slavery. Don't have somebody working for you at home. This is domestic slavery. Don't have somebody working for you in your lands to produce wealth for you. So this was also another step in the movement. Diplomats first, foreigners, soldiers, slave. But those people were still object of international law. They were protected, but they couldn't go to complain to anybody. They were object of international law was coming to protect them. And why international law? Because national law was not protecting them. National law was not protecting them, that you needed to go to international law. So this is a movement. Category of people were protected. Not because they were human, but because they were soldiers, because they were diplomats, because they were foreigners, because they were slaves. Not because they were just human. So the concept of human rights didn't really exist at that time. Those were just the seeds. The seeds were planted in the soil, and they will give some fruits with time. Time, again, it's another factor. Would you like to stop for... I don't know what time is it. I don't work with a watch. If you want to have a...
It's 10 to 11.
Pardon?
10 to 11.
10 to 11. Shall we finish at 11? And then we make a break and we start? Consensus? Okay. So this was the situation. At that time, states could do everything they wanted in their territory. Everything. You know, states are like you now here. You are stating... you are representing a state. Each of you is representing a state. And you are around the table in order to negotiate something. And the more states you have around the table, the more difficult it is to get an agreement. It's like breaking or not breaking for coffee. If we were only two, let's break or not. You will say yes, and we'll say yes, we go. But now some people were saying yes, some no, some I don't know. And then the boss has to take, allez, we go or no, we don't know. Consensus, majority, this is how it is. And this is also important to understand the issue of human rights. The more states you have around the table, the more difficult it is to reach an agreement. The more difficult it is to reach an agreement. So now to start again, to come back to a little bit in the past. So the states at that time were like this. What is this? A ball, huh? Can you see something?
Yes, it's a small ball.
You have good eyes, huh?
There's something white inside.
Really?
Oh no, that's my reflection.
Can you see?
That's my reflection.
Nothing, huh?
Yeah.
So as far as the individual is concerned, as far as the protection of individual was concerned, what was happening within the state was his own business. The state could do whatever he wants. Except when it comes to soldiers, diplomats. No, except when it comes to diplomats and foreigners. Those people were protecting those people because they were members, they were representing or represented by a government behind him. The rights were respected by states because of the state which was behind. Those were rights belonging to the state, actually. The right of the diplomats and the right of the foreigners. They are not their rights. They were the rights of the state behind. So the ball was like this. Apart to these two categories of person, states were like this. So you cannot complain. There is no complaint possible. The state can do whatever it wants. It's like in your house. When you are inside your house, you can do whatever you want. You can do exactly what you want. Russia was beating his wife and children. And the neighbor complained. An ambassador, protected by immunities. The neighbors complained, the police came. They arrested the ambassador, they came. And there was a big discussion, big fight between Holland and Russia because it became a diplomatic problem. You cannot arrest an ambassador. You cannot get into the embassy. It's forbidden. But they still did it. They broke the rules and they did it. So this is another example. This is an extra example. But basically, you cannot do whatever you want at home. And it's the same with states. But when I went 200 years, you could do whatever you wanted at home, except when it comes to diplomats or foreigners. When you have a foreigner in your country, in your territory, when you have a diplomat, you cannot treat them the way you want it. You have to respect a certain numbers of rules provided by international law. The international law of foreigners and the international law of diplomats. Diplomatic law. Diplomatic law were protected the international diplomatic law and international foreign law. You have to respect those people. But the ball was still, as far as the other people were concerned, the state can do whatever he wants with his own citizens. He can put them in jail, he can slave them, he can beat them, he can... The ball was not transparent at all. And afterwards, a little bit, the ball became a little bit clearer, you see? Little bit clearer. They started to protect the soldier, they started to dig into the slave issue. And then time passed again. After the Second World War, 1918, they finished the First World War. They adopted the Treaty of Versailles, and they adopted a treaty creating the League of Nations.
Mr. Sam, Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam, yeah.
Uncle Sam, why Uncle Sam?
He's from America, but he did not enter for the League of Nations. That's why it collapsed.
Wilson. President Wilson. Huh? President Wilson. President Wilson was the initiator. Huh? That's why in my home city there's an avenue, President Wilson. I never knew. But then when I went to university, I understood why there was a name, President Wilson. So they initiated this society, this ancestor of the United Nations, which was based here in Geneva. It was based first at the Palais Wilson, which is on the lake. You're going to go maybe there. It's the headquarters now of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. It's close to the Hotel Président on the lake. And this was the League of Nations. They was based there. And then they built a new headquarters, which is the Palais des Nations, and they moved there until the end of the Second World War, when the UN was created in 1945. And then the UN replaced the League of Nations. So at the end of the First World War, they adopted the Traité de Versailles, and the Chapter 13 of this treaty was provided for the creation of an organization. And what's the name of this organization? It's based in Geneva. In Geneva, you have lots of organizations now. And this organization is the International Labour Organization. And the aim of this organization was to protect the workers. You know, the Second World War, there were lots of countries fighting. And at that time, the Russian was also one of the main actors. And the Russians, they just came out of a revolution, the Bolshevik revolution, and they became communists. And the Russians, they fought to have an organization fighting for the workers, you know, the socialism. So they adopted this convention creating this organization, the ILO, which was Chapter 13 of the Traité de Versailles. And this organization started to work on rights of individuals. And the first convention which was adopted, to which your country is a party, is to limit the numbers of hours. Yes. So you cannot work 15 hours a day. So it was limited to 8 hours a day. You cannot work more than 8 hours, and you cannot work more than 6 days a week. 1 day of rest. So altogether, 68 hours. No, 48? 48 hours. If you work more than this, you have to get extra paid. Let's say you have to pay 50% more or 100% more if you work during the weekend or if you work at night. So this was the first, actually, legal rule which came to protect the individual, the worker. And everybody agreed around the table because it was a technical right. Okay, we agree. We are a capitalist country. We agree. We agree to limit the number of hours because it was a limitation, but it was not a strict limitation. You can still go above 8 hours, but you pay more. That's it. It comes back to money.
Based on individual choice as well.
Individual?
Individual choice.
Yes, also.
Based on.
Oh yes, individual choice. Based on but sometimes, where's the choice? When you say, but we have to produce this quantity, please come and work. Okay. Maybe at the end you will lose, but maybe you have to go to the judge to say that your boss forced you to work. But the judge can say, yes, you were forced in a way, but it was a necessity. It was a necessity because if you don't do this, it was in your interest. At the end of the month, your company is not going to make money and it will be bankrupt. And then you're going to get any job anymore. So this was necessary to work extra hours such a day, provided that you get more money. You see? So the rules, sometimes they have exceptions. It's important to understand this. Rules have exceptions. But it's important to understand that, so the workers, they got a right. Workers got rights. Workers. This was in 1919. Workers. Workers got some rights. You have taken note of all of this?
Yes.
Soldier, diplomat, foreigner, slave, worker. 1999. Workers. But workers, were they subject or object of international law? Object. If they were subject, what could have they done? If they were subject?
They could stop working and just stop, and then the company will see that they're losing money.
Yes.
No one producing, so they will try to make them work again with more benefits.
If they were but if they were,
But if they were a subject, they can't go and protect each individual right. As an object, they ensure that everyone has rights.
yes, they cannot go to court
Yeah,
as a subject.
Yeah.
But they can make strikes or protests altogether.
They could do it, and they can go to court. They can go to court.
But it's better to be represented by one as an object.
Yes, but they can go. Yeah, exactly. But when represented, they can go to court, and the workers. So they were subject at the national level, but not at the international level. So we're going to make also this distinction later on. So 1984. So this is the situation. Early 20th century. You said before that you were a subject of international law, national law. That means if I steal something from you, you can go to the judge, at the national level, the national judge. But at the international level, so this is the national level, national, and then this is the international level. International level, up, international level. At the national level, you can go to the judge. But at the international level, to whom can you complain if something is not, if your international rights, because now we talked about the right of the worker not to work more than 8 hours a day. If the worker is not happy, he can go to the judge at the national level. He can complain to the judge in Abu Dhabi. And the judge will tell him or her, he will give explanations. But if you're not happy with this explanation, what can you do? You know that you are protected by the ILO conventions. You know that you are protected by the ILO convention #1. And you know that your country has accepted this convention. But what can you do?
Maybe organization that have a relationship or have connections with the international, let's say International Court of Justice.
Yes.
For example. So maybe we could raise the complaining, and then they take it and
they go there.
Yes.
They can complain for you. Okay.
Escalated into international level.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you can't just go as an individual, or even if you're a group of people, you can't go to the Court of Justice. There is a violation of a certain thing. or I was violated because
There are conditions. There are
yes, there's
conditions.
a condition.
There are
and there's a
conditions.
step.
There are steps. I will finish the issue with the concept of sovereignty, and then we go to drink something. Sovereignty, state sovereignty. I told you that in the former time, and still today, states are like this.
Closed.
They are close, but the relationships are like this. Each state is independent. Independence and sovereignty. What means sovereignty?
To be independent, to have control over your own country and your own rules.
Yes.
But being part of international law decreases your sovereignty because you can't break rules that apply on international law because someone is going to come back and punish you
Okay.
over that. But to be not part of international law also is a problem.
You have the United Nations Charter. You have it, huh?
Yeah.
After lunch, after maybe we can have. You have it with you?
No. Actually, me and
You left it at home?
Watfa, no. We had a course last semester on international law and world politics.
And you?
And we had the copy
The small,
copy
the copy of the
Yes.
United Nations.
of the United Nations.
And you don't have it. You didn't bring it with you, but it's useless. No.
No, it's not used.
You brought your phone with you, huh? Your phones. You didn't forget your phones. It's important, huh? But the United Nations Charter.
Yes, we can use our phones to have the charter.
Ah, okay. That you see, you have an answer. Good answer, huh? So sovereignty. Sovereignty is a key concept of international law. Everything comes from this. State sovereignty. Sovereignty. Tea break. Huh? Sovereignty break? Tea break. Let's go for tea break.
Okay.
I think you haven't worked enough. And there are subjects as well. Subjects. Rights. Objects. Subject. Some human rights. Right to property, right to health, to education, to participate in the political system of the state. So they were guaranteed by the national judge. There's a judge who can guarantee your rights. National judge who can guarantee your rights at the national level. There's a national judge in all the states, and there's a judge. It's part of the system. So there are rights, and you become subject of rights because you can complain, you can claim them. So at the international level, what happened? Is there any national law? No, at the national level, there are laws who are providing for rights. There are laws. Is there any rights providing for? Once there's a man who complained at the European Court of Human Rights. He's an Italian man. He went to the court and he said the Italian government has violated my right to marriage. He didn't provide me for a wife. So he went to on the basis of the provision of the Human Rights Convention, European Convention, providing for the right to freedom to marriage. And he went to the judge, he said, the government has violated my rights to marry. And the international judge said, but there's no such a right. You don't have the right to marry. You have the right to marry if you have a wife, but we cannot provide you with a wife. So he was dismissed. So it's the law who has to come and provide you with rights. So there's not such a right as the right to have a wife in the national laws. There's no such a thing so far. Or there's no such a right to provide you with to eat ice cream every day. There's no right to eat ice cream every day. To my knowledge, I don't know any country where you have such a law which provides you with the right to eat ice cream every day. It's not a human right so far. Maybe in some countries you will have that one day. So you need laws to provide you for rights. You need laws. And there are laws to provide you with the right to property, the right to participate to... The Constitution is a law. The big law, the biggest law in the country is the Constitution. So you have, even in the Emirates, you have a Constitution which provides for the structure of the government, for the courts, and for the rights of freedoms. In most of the countries of the world, you have a Constitution. And then you have laws, which comes to give more details in the Constitution. More details. But at the international level, what do we have? Do you have international law providing you with some rights? What did we discuss this morning? There were some rights provided by international law?
Yeah, now, yes, there is an international law. Now, I mean...
Remember, we came from this
to this.
to this. A little bit clearer. So international law has a bit penetrated. But the principle, as I told you, it's this. State sovereignty. What is state sovereignty? What means state sovereignty?
The right to rule without external interference.
Yes, this is a consequence. The consequence is this. But what is the core of the sovereignty?
Independent national procedure of each state to maintain independency.
Yes, this is also one of the elements. But the core of it.
Being independent.
Yeah, but what is the core of being sovereign? I told you about.
Not belonging to another country.
It's
To be recognized.
to the
To be able to govern your own government.
yes.
To be recognized as a state. Or as a, like, people of a state.
Sovereignty. Yes. What are the yes? Yes, you have an idea?
I'm trying to think.
Okay, you're trying. Sovereignty, 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 sovereignty.
Have borders.
Yes, you need to have borders.
Be sovereign.
I'm sure you have an idea of sovereignty.
Being secure against
You have one, huh?
country.
No.
A sovereignty is someone who, like a state that has a head that helps us live our life without, without borders, difficulties of life.
Without borders or with borders?
Yeah.
With borders or without borders?
With borders, but tries to solve difficult problems that I cannot do myself. Like
Actually, sovereignty means all what you said here. All what you said are elements of sovereignty. But the core of sovereignty is what I said before, what you do in your own house. In your own house, you are sovereign. That means you do whatever you want. When you are in your house, you do whatever you want in your house. So sovereignty means, for a state, independence means lots of things, but the core is you do whatever you want in your own country, in your own state. What am I doing here in my ball? Nobody has the right to say, no states, no other states has to say anything. I am sovereign. I am master in my country. The rulers, the state is saying this. The government says, I'm a master. I can do whatever I want. So this is sovereignty. Sovereignty. This is a principle. This is the main principle in the international, the basic principle. And of course, the issue of independence is important. Of course, the issue of borders are independent. Because what is your country? Your country has to have borders. And you have to define the borders. So if your borders are not defined, you cannot say, this is my country, I can do whatever I want. Some country can say, no, it's not your country. You know, there are lots of issues in the world where people are complaining. States are fighting for the border to know where is the border. So you need to define your borders. And then you can do whatever you want. That's how the same in your house. You have walls. What is in the street is in the street. What is inside is inside. Public and private.
International and national.
This is what you can say also about international. Public issues outside, private issues inside. Private issues is sovereignty. Sovereignty. The other concept, which is close to state sovereignty, is domestic jurisdiction. It's the same as just I wanted. It's the same coin with the other face. You know, two coins, one coin with two faces. State sovereignty, the other side is domestic jurisdiction. That means in my domestic affairs, I can do whatever I want. It's my house, my own house. This is the concept of state sovereignty. But we said that you said something interesting before. It came from this part. You said what is sovereignty and what is international law. Who said something about you said something about international and sovereignty.
When a organization that has international law,
Yes.
it it decreases the country's sovereignty, because now your national affairs aren't only national, but if you violate a national affair that has a law internationally, then the international organization can come and punish you for breaking the law. So you're not sovereign to govern your own country, to have your own rules. These rules apply to your country,
Exactly.
but they're not yours.
Exactly. I will put it in other words. Maybe you can put it in other words.
No, because I was trying to say something. Because
You can say it in French too.
No, like for example, the sovereignty is becoming now less weaker because many countries who have the sovereignty violate it in somehow where the international needs to intervene. Like if you can see the Middle East, some Arab countries and the Arabic Spring Revolution.
Yes.
And like now in Ukraine and like that, there are intervention. So where does the sovereignty comes now? How the sovereignty is strong? Or how can we measure sovereignty?
Okay. How we can measure sovereignty? This is a sovereignty. You have the concept of state sovereignty here, but state sovereignty. Okay, I will give you an image. I gave you the image of the rock and the water before. Huh? I will give you the image of a beach. You have a beach and you have the sea, the water, the waves. And the beach is the state sovereignty. Where it's dry. And you have the waves. The sea is international law. Each time international law comes into your state sovereignty, you are not sovereign anymore. You accept obligations of international law. You accept obligations. So the domestic jurisdiction depends of what? Domestic jurisdiction depends, your private sphere, this is the private sphere of the state, depends on the... No, you can do whatever you want in your borders. In your borders, you are sovereign in your borders. But if you accept obligations, international law obligations, your state sovereignty shrinks. You have less and less sovereignty. Okay? You have less and less domestic jurisdiction. The more you accept obligations, the less you have sovereignty. The more you accept obligation, the less you have sovereignty. Let's say in your house, in the former time, you could do whatever you want in your own house. You could grow marijuana, you can make wine, you can beat your wife, you can beat your husband. Huh? It happens also, you have associations of protection of men, of husbands. Hey, I'm telling you, there are women beating men. So they are organized as in associations in France, yes. Beaten men, it's a phenomenon. So they are organized in associations, and so you cannot beat your husband, but in the former time, yes, your domestic jurisdiction was full. There were only certain things that you cannot do at that time. You cannot do comploting against the government. Huh? You cannot gather at home and say, let's overrule the king. Huh? But even though nobody knew what you are doing at home, you cannot, at that time you are also practicing. You can also practice your own religion. Let's say you are Christian in a Muslim country. It was forbidden to practice Christianity, but at home you could do it. Nobody can see it. Nobody can see it. That's why in Holland, when you watch in Holland, there are no curtains on the windows. When you walk in the street, you can see what's going on in the house. My mother has curtains at home. She doesn't want people to see what's in the house. In all houses, you have curtains or shades. But in Holland, you don't have curtains. The tradition is because the Protestant at that time, they were Christian. Holland is a Protestant country. And lots of people immigrated from France because they were persecuted. And just to show to the other people that they were not comploting, practicing their own religion at home, they were saying, you can see what's going on. We are not practicing another religion. We are also we are also Protestant. So this is still today, when you go to Holland, you will be amazed. But the reason why was because of the religion. They wanted to show that you can look through, we don't hide anything. So coming back to this issue of domestic jurisdiction, the more time passes, the less you can do things. You cannot anymore beat your children, you cannot anymore beat your husband, you cannot anymore beat your wife, you cannot anymore, it's forbidden to produce alcohol in the house, because if you produce it, you don't buy it, and it's taxed. No, alcohol is taxed. The government is getting money from alcohol. So you have to declare that you are doing whiskey or at home. And if there are even countries like Saudi Arabia, it's not a matter of tax, it's a matter of religion. It's forbidden. It's not halal. So then it's forbidden. So there are lots of things that you cannot do anymore at home. And what you can do at home differs also not in time, but also in space. You can drink wine at home in France, here also. Nobody will forbid you. But in Saudi Arabia, if you drink wine at home, the police can come and you cannot do whatever you want. So the domestic jurisdiction, when individuals are concerned, is different here and what is in other parts of the world. And it's also different in time. This is exactly the same thing at the international level. The concept of domestic jurisdiction depends on the content of international law. The more international law obligation you have accepted, the less you have national jurisdiction, the less. Rauda, do you follow me?
Yes, I follow.
Okay, because sometimes and I need to, because this is important to understand what you're going to hear this week. International jurisdiction, international law. So the more, just again compare the sea and the beach. The more you have water coming, the less the beach is wide. Is the domestic jurisdiction of Emirates, of the United Emirates, the same as the national jurisdiction of Algeria? Why?
We have 200 nationalities living there.
So?
There's different, like, the country's not sovereign. Like, let's say, culturally.
Yes.
So we have a lot of cultures that fit there.
Yes.
So it's not only one culture where the country is sovereign, only Emirati culture.
Yeah, but is there...
And like, if someone who's from another country does something wrong,
yes,
he can ask to be persecuted in their country. So that's where international law applies to our country.
So you have accepted international law obligations?
Yes.
With the country of origins?
Yes.
Pakistani, Indian, Algerian, whoever is working. So is there any reason why the domestic jurisdiction of Algeria, for example, is different from the domestic jurisdiction of the Emirates or the US? Is there any?
Each country has different rules and law systems.
Yeah, but this is national level. Each country has accepted different international obligations.
They see what's fit for them and they choose it.
They choose it.
Situation.
Pardon?
The aftermath of each country are different. Maybe, let's say in Algeria, maybe they don't have, they have maybe, let's say, let me put it in this way, lots of unemployment rate, you see how? And in UAE we have less, but we have another issue. So the jurisdiction changes depending on the issue of society.
I'm talking, what is domestic jurisdiction? Is the freedom to do whatever you want in your country. This is the domestic jurisdiction for a state. The domestic jurisdiction for you is your freedom to do whatever you want to do at home, in your home, within your borders, within your walls. For a state, domestic jurisdiction is the right to do whatever he wants to do within his borders, without having a look from outside. Nobody, no other state can say, you are doing wrong. This is domestic jurisdiction. Domestic jurisdiction is this, the right to do whatever you want. And what can change your rights is international law.
Each country or each state?
Each state can do
what,
accepted obligation, accepts obligations. This I want to come to this, to international, the importance of international law. That's why I started with state sovereignty. Yes?
Maybe because the international law is not a forced law. it's a universal law.
We come back to this. This is another issue. This is another issue on forced law. Huh?
And depending on individualism and collectivism
Yes.
in a culture, because different culture, the domestic jurisdiction. Let's say, for example, I'm an individual. Let's say I'm an individual society.
Yes.
So each individual can do whatever they want.
Yes.
So they have the domestic jurisdiction more higher, let's say. In a collectivism family, each individual cannot do because they are also having their surrounding.
The surrounding.
Let's say family, like Arabs.
The
usually.
pressure, yes.
Yes. So the domestic jurisdiction is much lesser
Domestic jurisdiction of whom?
of individual in the collective.
Okay.
Yes.
And what about the domestic jurisdiction of a state within the international community?
I need to think.
No, you thought already. The answer is in your reply. It is already contained in your reply.
Then I'll focus on the answer.
You said that the individual jurisdiction, your individual jurisdiction, depends on society. Okay, but at the international level, this is the same. Your jurisdiction depends on the international community also. There's a pressure of the international community to make you, as a state, respect certain standard in your own country. There's a pressure. The same.
The same like the family.
The same like the family. So the family, the international family, is making pressure on you. You understood this concept of the international community. Sometimes you read the newspapers and you said Iraq has done that, and the international community is condemning. Have you had the news? In the news, it's always in the news. So something happened in the world, and you hear the journalists saying the international community has strongly condemned this. Most of the time, you heard that on TV, no? When a state does something, there's a kidnapping for it. There's a
Russia when they voted.
You see in Russia, Crimea. And you said international community has strongly condemned the annexion of Crimea by Russia. But sometimes who is the international community?
Yes.
Huh?
The question.
Who is? Sometimes is the P5, or no, the P3, France, Great Britain, and US. And this is the international community. But when they say international community, they don't think about Algeria, they don't think about the Emirates. International community is the big states, the big power.
States in the United Nations.
Not even, sometimes Russia, China. China doesn't say anything, Russia doesn't say anything, but they say international community, international family. We come back to this, the pressure. This is another issue, this is a political issue that I'm mentioning now. But the international family is all the states of the world, 200, 192 UN state members, 193 with Sudan, South Sudan. 193 states, which are the family. And they make pressure on each state to respect a certain standard of rules. So this is the international community, which making international law. And this international law exists not in every domain. In some domains. I told you before that the international law exists in certain... We are not focusing on human rights. Huh? As far as the diplomat is concerned, international law were coming to protect the right of the diplomat. As far as the foreigner is concerned, international law was coming to protect his right and to limit the state's sovereignty. State cannot do whatever they want as far as diplomats are concerned, as far as foreigners are concerned, as far as slaves are concerned, as far as soldiers are concerned, as far as workers are concerned. Do you follow me? Yes. So the state sovereignty was not total. It's still very large, but still, again, the rock and the water. The state sovereignty is like a rock, and international law is like the water. Little by little, erosion. The erosion. The rock was strong, but then after 100 years, you can see that the rock has been destroyed a little bit by water. So this is the issue. Just keep these images in mind. The rock and the water, or the beach and the water. So state sovereignty is a concept which has very strong links with domestic jurisdiction. And domestic jurisdiction depends on international law. The more obligation you accept under international law, the less you can say, this is my domestic jurisdiction. That's why when a country does something wrong, the international community is complaining. They said to Bashar al-Assad, this is not your state sovereignty. What you are doing is forbidden by international law. You are committing crimes against humanities, which is forbidden by international law. You know, when a state kills one person, it happens every day that states are killing, you know, somebody has been shot by a policeman in the street. It doesn't make the headlines. Huh? It's forbidden, but still, it's not yet. This doesn't prompt the other state of the world to complain. But when it comes to hundreds of thousands of people, then it becomes a big issue. So then the state intervenes. But it's not an intervention. It's an intervention, but legal intervention. But it's legal because you have the right to say it. It's like me. If you do something wrong in your house, you are beating your child, I have the right to complain to you and say, I knock at the door, I say, please don't beat your child. You can beat him once, you can give him a slap on the face, but now you're abusing. Every time I see him going out, he has blues everywhere, bruises. I will complain to the police. So you don't have the right to do whatever you want in your house. You can sometimes beat your child like this. Sometimes this is acceptable in every country. You can beat your child like this, but not. There are limits, you know, limitations. So this is the same with states. You can treat your citizens the way you want. Sometimes you can make mistakes, but there are rules. There are a certain standard of treatment. So this is what international law is coming to do as far as human rights are concerned. And I showed you how international law started to regulate the situation of human beings in the state. So we started like this, and we came like this after the First World War, where you have already two new categories of persons who were protected: the soldier, the workers. There were other people as well which were protected, but I didn't mention to you are the minorities. The people belonging to minorities. After the First World War, the Ottoman Empire lost the war, and this Ottoman Empire, which was controlling Iraq, what is today Iraq, Syria, Transjordania, including Palestine, all of this was ruled by the Ottoman Empire. And when they lost the war, the Ottoman Empire lost the war, the power which won the war, they took over those territories. So France took over Syria, Britain took over Iraq, and British took over Transjordania, Palestine. They were ruling those areas. They were the masters, the new masters. And in this area, there were minorities. Christian minorities in this country, Muslim minorities in this country. This was the same in Europe. In Europe, the German lost, so they lost all their empire. So they were in Czechoslovakia, in Poland, there were minorities everywhere. People speaking different languages, people having a different faith. They were Christian, they were Protestant, they were not Catholic, like Shia and Sunni. You have people speaking different languages. So those treaties, which were adopted after 1919, were protecting the rights of those people to speak their own languages, to practice their own religion. So those were minority rights. So the ball became a little bit clearer. International law came to protect those people. So states cannot say anymore, oh, this is state sovereignty. No. You have accepted those obligations. You have accepted to protect the right of the, at that time it was not Shia minorities, Shia or Muslim, it was more Christian, and to protect the rights of those people. So international law came to protect. And domestic jurisdiction started to shrink. But the more important event which took place in the history of human rights was the adoption of the Charter, the United Nations Charter. That's why I said, why don't you have it stick to your mobile phone? Everywhere you go. But you told me that it's inside the mobile phone. I didn't know, So you have the United Nations Charter, which was adopted after the Second World War. The Second World War created a trauma in the conscience of humanities. You know, they never thought there would be a Second World War. After the First World War, they created the League of Nations in order to make peace all over the world. They thought that war was over. But then another war started. And in a way, it was assimilated. This war was assimilated as a failure of the League of Nations. The League of Nations was not able to avoid a Second World War. You said that the U.S. didn't sign. They didn't belong to it.
And also further, the type of the law that they have provided for Germany to limit their power and for the rest to have other power, that also created a very huge conflict.
This created as well a conflict because Germany was not happy with this.
They're not happy with the signing the treaty. They were forced to sign the treaty.
They were forced to sign it.
Yeah.
They were humiliated.
And this is why Hitler thought those delegation who signed the treaty
Yes.
of the Versailles, okay, they were like kind of did not represent their country well because they have insulted, you know.
They felt insulted.
Yeah.
You see, when this treaty was signed, it was signed in the capitulation treaty. When Germany gave up, it was signed in a train wagon. They signed that in a train wagon in France. And the first thing the Germans did when they started the Second World War was to destroy this wagon.
Yes.
They were so upset, they destroyed this wagon. They said, we're humiliated by this treaty. And it was still in their heart, you know, they felt humiliated because they were, the empire, they were running the part of Europe. So they felt humiliated. So they blew up this wagon, Traité de la Rotonde, le wagon de la Rotonde, I don't remember exactly the history. They blew up this out of humiliation.
Justice and international law.
Why are you selfish?
Why?
Share with your. She didn't ask for it, huh? Huh?
Yeah.
She didn't ask. She didn't
for her
ask. You see, you have to ask for your right.
Yeah, she didn't.
Because your neighbor is not conscious of her duties. You know, sometimes you have to claim. So you have the charters, you have the purposes, and you have the principles. And one of the principles is it's written there. I mean, I don't invent anything. Sometimes you might think, oh, Judge Ouguergouz is just making up things. But you have in Article 2, this is the preamble, but then in the rules you have,
To achieve international
yeah?
problems.
So those are the purposes, huh? Article 1. Article 1 are the purposes, that means what you want to do. And then it comes to Article 2, how you're going to do that, how. So those are the principles on which are based the international community, on which the international organization is based. And if you look at Article 1, what is Article 1 saying? Amda, what is Article 1 saying?
To maintain international peace and security.
No, paragraph 1 of Article 2.
Oh, okay. The organization and
is based on the principles of the sovereignty, equality of all
See,
members.
sovereign equality. That means each state is independent and each state is sovereign. We are equal. Nobody can tell me what I have to do. I'm sovereign. So this is the basic of international law. State sovereignty. So this is one of the core concepts of international law, and it is mentioned first in Article 2 of the Charter. So don't forget this when you're going to deal with all what you're going to deal this week. State sovereignty. This has an exception.
Yes.
Which is the exception?
That not to violate the civilians in that border.
You still have to respect a core. Huh?
Yes.
So if you look at Article 2, paragraph 7, you have the issue of state jurisdiction, domestic jurisdiction. That means that if you read paragraph 7 of Article 2, paragraph 7, Article 2, paragraph 7.
Nothing contained in the present charter shall authorize the United Nations to intervene in the matters which, as essential within the domestic jurisdiction of any state, or shall require the members to submit such matters.
Okay. So that means that the United Charter is providing for the principle of domestic jurisdiction. The UN cannot interfere in what is domestic jurisdiction. Is it clear? A contrario, what can you say? A contrario means
The opposite.
in the opposite.
Yeah.
That means what? The opposite. In the opposite, the Charter means that the United Nations can interfere in what is not jurisdiction, in domestic jurisdiction. So what is domestic jurisdiction? You can not interfere, but what is not domestic jurisdiction, you can interfere.
Which is the violation.
Which is the violation. And how do you measure what is and what is not? How do you know what is or not in domestic jurisdiction?
If they don't solve it, and
No. How do you define domestic jurisdiction? I'm coming back again to what I said before. How do you know what is and what is not in domestic jurisdiction? It depends on what?
How much like you have like signed with these organizations, how much you've signed.
How much obligations you have signed. Okay, so domestic jurisdiction depends. Again, remember international law and the beach. The more international obligations you have, the less domestic jurisdiction you have. Remember your freedom at home? The more there are national laws prohibiting certain behaviors at home, the less freedom you have. You cannot beat anymore your husband. I'm telling you. At least here. In the Emirates, I don't know. But here in Switzerland, you cannot beat your husband. So if you beat your husband, you can be prosecuted. So you cannot do here whatever you want at home. So this is domestic jurisdiction has different meaning in every country. And international, national jurisdiction for countries is different in every part of the world because of international obligations, different obligations. Okay? So this is the principle, Article 2, Paragraph 1, which has to be read together with Paragraph 7 of the Charter. This is the basic, you don't have to learn lots of things in international law. Those principles are very important. What is the other principle which is important when you read those seven? There's 6. Yes. What is the other?
They should basically give every assistance. For example, is that the United Nations wants to intervene for one country that has lots of problem. So those people who signed the United Nations needs to also assist United Nations for their
Where do you read
number
this?
5,
Number
all
five.
members.
All members shall give the unit every assistance in action, detection, accordance with Charter, from giving assistance to any against. Okay. But why did you jump to number 5?
Because
You have the same document as we have here. You have something before number 5, or it's?
no,
Why do you jump to number 5?
because I see it's very important that the United Nations, in order to also implement and to interfere that our domestic jurisdiction met, we also as a state needs to give. You see the
Wafa.
transaction what we talked in earlier.
Yes, but Wafa, this is your position. But for you, this is unimportant. If you were drafting the Charter, maybe you would have put that as number 1. Huh? But what the states have done, what are the more important principles than this one?
Number 4, which all members shall refrain in their international relation from the threat or use of force against the territorial
Territorial integrity.
Yes, integrity and political independence of any state.
Okay.
In any other manner.
Okay.
In
Okay, good.
consistence with the purpose of United Nations.
Okay.
I think this is one of the most important.
State sovereignty. This is international law now. Huh?
No.
Use of force. Use of force. Remember, I tried to pick up. I tried to steal your bag before this morning. I liked it very much, and you threatened me to go to the judge because there's a judge at the national level, but at the international level, at that time, in the former time, when there was a problem between two states, what happened?
Before they went to war.
They went to war.
Yeah.
The only mean to settle an issue was to go to war.
Yeah.
So which was the more weapons you have, it was the law of jingle, like the lion eating the weakest. So it was the same at that time. So international law was providing for use of force. You can use force. And it's the first time in the history of mankind, first time, that war is prohibited. You cannot anymore use force. Have you seen the word war inside the charter? There's no war. The mention of war, it became a taboo word.
Yeah.
They don't want to speak about war anymore. Traumatization.
Yeah.
If you read the preamble of the charter, you will see that they don't want to go again in war. So they even use the word war, use of force. It's forbidden to use force, forbidden, strictly forbidden. And this started very slowly. The first time it was forbidden to do war was in 1907. 1907, the second convention, the second Hague conference. You know why Geneva is important as a city? Because lots of meetings took place here as a city. That's why it's an international city. The other important city is The Hague in Holland. It's also an important place. You remember last week the G8? The G8 met them. The Hague, they met in Geneva, in The Hague, yes.
No, not G8, G7.
G7, yeah.
Russia wasn't there.
Okay. Yes, G7, you're right. Yes. G7. So the G7 met in The Hague. The Hague was an important place for international humanitarian law since 1899, the first Hague conference, where they provided with some limitation in the use of war. In the use of war. You cannot use any weapons you wanted. So it's a consequence of what Mr. Henri Dunant did, you know, the Geneva Convention, to limit the ways of conducting war. So the first conference took place there in 1907. And for example, at that time, it was forbidden to send explosives from a balloon. You know, at that time, they didn't have planes. They didn't have drones. They didn't have space shuttles. At that time, they have balloons, you know. They put warm air in a balloon, and they were dropping bombs. And they tried to forbid this. They say it's forbidden to send bombs through balloon. Of course, this was an idea, a very generous idea, but most of the states didn't accept that. France, Britain, they didn't accept this. You know, we still have the right to throw bombs through balloon. Now you have F7, you have drones shooting bombs everywhere. So, but it started like this. And in 1907, there was a second conference, and then they decided to limit the law of war, to limit the use of force. Use of force, the first limitation was in 1907. 1907. It was the Drago-Porter Convention. Drago-Porter Convention. Drago-Porter Convention. Porter was the foreign minister of the US. And Drago was the foreign minister of Argentina. Drago. He was from Chile, but he became minister of foreign affairs of Argentina. And they made a treaty to forbid the use of force to recover commercial debt. At one stage, the British has bombed Venezuela, because Venezuela was owing money to Italy. It was owing commercial debt. You know, it's like I owe you money, and instead of asking me, you ask me 10 times, and after 10 times I refuse to give you the money because I don't have it. You beat me, or you kill me. It was the same with Venezuela. So they bombed Venezuela. And then Venezuela and the other states say, come on, we owe you money. It's not a matter of death. We didn't kill anybody. You cannot bomb us because we didn't reimburse you the loans. So they started to make this convention, forbidden to make war, to recover commercial debt. This was the first step, 1907, Drago-Porter Convention. You can do that, you can see that on Google. Drago-Porter Convention. Drago, D-R-A-G-O, Drago, Porter like P-O-R-T-E-R. 1907. This was the first time, the first step. The second step was 1919, the League of Nations Covenant. You cannot use war before going to arbitration. Before you go to war, you first have to settle your dispute with the other state by discussing first. You discuss first, and if it doesn't work, then you fight. Then you shoot. 1919. And then the other step was 1928. The convention, it was the Brian Kellogg Convention, pact by Brian Kellogg. Kellogg was the Minister for Foreign Affairs of US, and Brian was the Minister for Foreign Affairs of France, Aristide Briand. Brian. So they make again another treaty to forbid war. You say, let's solve issues. Let's go to the judge before, international judge. At that time, there was no international. There was international judges, which were created in 1919, the Permanent Court of International Justice.
Justice, it would be
It was created in The Hague.
in Hague. It would be
1920, 1922. I should know that because I worked there. Not at that time, but 1922, the Permanent Court of International Justice. Permanent Court of International Justice, based in The Hague, in the beautiful palace, the Peace Palace. Permanent Court of International Justice. So in 1928, the states, they gathered around the table and they say, yes, before going to war, let's go to the judge before. And if the judge, we're not happy with what the judge says, let's go and fight war. So this didn't work because the German, they used this to go to war. But the most important step is the UN Charter. 1945, no war, it's forbidden to go to use of force. Clear?
And then NATO comes after the 1945.
The NATO, but it's later.
Basically, to limit the use of force, they created the North America Atlantic, the NATO.
Yes.
For them to be the, because they would know how to use the soft power or how to, use the different way of war.
Yes.
So they designed on, I think in 1960 something or 70 something, to replace.
To replace what?
To replace the use of force. They would be only the eligible, department to use of force for.
This is much later.
Much later, yes.
Why do you go so fast? I thought I was going fast. I'm only in 1945. Why do you go so fast? We're going to come back to this and then I'll let you speak. Okay? You're right, NATO, but on the other side you have the Warsaw Pact. So NATO were for the Western countries and the Warsaw Pact for the Eastern countries. Soviet countries, Sovietic countries at that time. But those are regional organizations for the protection of various interests. Military organizations, those were defense organizations, regional ones. But let's stay in 45, because I think there are lots of food on the table now, as far as the Charter is concerned. We said Article 2, Paragraph 4 is forbidding the war. You cannot anymore fight. There are two exceptions. Which are the exceptions? You cannot use war anymore. You cannot use force anymore. There are two exceptions.
I think until the head of state lose control over something like that. I think you cannot intervene in a country. That's what I was taught. Until the head of the head of state doesn't have control over the citizen.
Yes.
That time, you could intervene.
I'm talking about using of force.
Yes, because
Isn't it you're only permitted to go to war if a country attacked you and as a way of
Defense. Yes, that's the first one.
defense?
Self-defense.
Can I assault you? Can I beat you?
why?
Why not?
No.
Why, if I want to beat you, and I cannot beat you?
No.
It's forbidden.
Yes.
By who? By what?
But in human rights, I'm a woman. I have my right not to be beaten by men.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
But is there any law providing for this?
I think. No.
Yeah.
What kind of what law? In Switzerland, there's a law against that.
I don't know.
But in the Emirates, there's a law against that?
Yes. Yes.
But you cannot beat me neither.
Yeah. No, it will not.
Ah, okay. But there are no exceptions?
I cannot attack you.
Yes.
I cannot attack you.
But there are not exceptions?
I think women have self-defense.
Ah, voila. So in self-defense, I cannot beat you if there's no reason for it. If you attack me, I have to retaliate.
Even in Islam, in war, when they used to go to war, it's written in the Quran that you cannot fight.
Don't start the fight.
Don't start the fight. Exactly.
If he attack you, attack him, and attack him the same way he attacked you. So if he, so if he, for example, if he stab you in your back, stab him in the back.
Yes.
Stab you in front, like this.
Okay, so this is now you are talking about two different things. You are talking about the principle and the modalities.
Yes.
That means you can react, but you have to react with proportionality.
Yes.
That if you attack me with a knife, I cannot attack you with a gun. I cannot reply with a gun.
Yes.
I have to attack you with a knife or with a stick.
Yes.
It depends. If you are a woman, if I attack you with a knife, maybe you can still attack me with a gun, because to have a certain proportionality. Even if you use the gun, the judge might say, "Oh, she is a weak person, and she has the right to retaliate with a gun." So proportionality. So now it comes with international law. This is the same. So use of force forbidden, prohibition, but with still exceptions too.
The other one is if it really creates a disturbance into the neighbor,
Yes.
then the use of force is applicable.
Okay.
Like what they have done in 1980, it was during the Cold War.
Yes.
Cuba and some Eastern Europe
Yes.
has this kind of group.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fascist. I can't remember. I can't recall the name. It's like Mongol. I can't remember. Huh? Okay, so they were creating lots of disturbance. Then they use the force. Yes.
Who used the force?
I think.
Was it in Grenada?
No.
Grenade?
No.
No.
Wasn't that
Who used the use of force?
the United Nations intervened
In
basically.
in 1980s.
In 1980s, and during that period.
I don't remember.
There's
Okay.
tomorrow's class organized.
Inshallah, tomorrow. But you said that this is the second exception. Where have you read that? In the Holy Quran or where?
Huh?
When you have to look for exception, do
No,
you?
you don't need to really look at the exception into either the United Nations Bible or the Holy Quran, but you can make an exception depending on the aftermath or depending on the situation, how it is so. Let's say if it's a massacre taking a big place, yes.
You are a dangerous woman. Huh?
Huh?
You are a dangerous woman.
No.
So you are doing rules like this. If you are the head of a very powerful country, you can decide like this. I don't have to find the rules anywhere, either in the Quran or.
You don't. Basically, the rules how the law comes. The law comes from, as you said, either things been conducted and then later on the law comes, which is this is your words.
My words. You are twisting my words then. Huh?
Law and then the precedes.
Okay.
Sometimes law precedes the
Okay.
situation or the facts.
Okay.
Or facts precede the law.
Yes.
This is how.
Okay. So now the facts are preceding the law, the law precedes the facts.
Yeah.
In your interpretation, what is preceding now?
The facts preceding. So basically, we need to create a law for that.
Why do you need? It's in the charter. It's not in the charter already. The first exception is where? Somebody can read for me the Article 2 of the Article 2, paragraph 4 of the charter.
All members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state, or in any other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations.
Okay, that's it. There's a chapter number 7.
There's a chapter number 7 that have 3 articles, which is really important, which is 39.
Yes.
That underlines. It says, the Security Council shall determine the existence of any threat to the peace, breach the peace or act of aggression and shall make recommendations or decide what measure shall be taken in accordance with the Article 41 and 42 and maintain or restore the international peace and security. And if you open Article 41 and 42, they say the Security Council may decide what measures not involving the use of armed force or not to be employed to give effect to its decision. And it may call upon the members of the United Nations or to apply such.
It's the same book, huh? It's the same, I think. See, it's the same. There's another provision, Article 51. 51. Oh, sorry. 51.
Nothing in the present charter shall impair the inherent rights of individual or collective self-defense if any armed attack occurs against a member of the United Nations.
Self-defense.
Until the Security Council has taken measures necessarily to maintain international peace and security.
Okay, so there are two exceptions in the Charter. You cannot use force except if it's self-defense. Yes. But even if it's self-defense, there are conditions to be fulfilled. Eh? And the other issue is the issue we are talking about. Huh? What? What?
The Security Council needs to decide whether.
But is it your idea or not?
Basically, I need to let them to.
But the idea that you are trying to put forward before, was it taken into consideration by industry? No. You're not happy with this?
No, it wasn't taken into the consideration, but it is taken as a sovereignty perspective.
What was your idea?
My idea was if it takes lots of, like if it's affecting the neighbor country, then the use of force needs to.
It's not in the Charter?
It is.
Where? Can I see your Charter? Sure. Maybe we don't have the same document, maybe. Or maybe we don't read, everyone has a different interpretation, or I don't know. Article 39. Article 39. Existence of any threat to the peace, breach, or the peace or act of aggression. It doesn't cover your concern? If there's a situation which might provoke a bigger disaster, the Security Council should intervene. Eh? Isn't it enough for you? Or you want to go further than this? And then you have Article 41, which the Security Council can take some measures which are not involving use of force. But you have also other provision. Article 42, use of force. So you see there are two exceptions. If there's a situation, but you are right in a way to say that then afterwards it's a matter of interpretation. That's why in certain political issues now, you have countries which are voting against the resolutions. Let's say the situation in Iraq, in Syria now. You have countries like Russia which are opposing, saying for us, it's not a situation in which we should interfere. You see, it's a matter of interpretation again. The rule is here, it's clear. But some countries that say, no, it's very dangerous because if you don't let the things, it will even get bigger. Like it's a wound, like you leave it and then it's the finger, the arm, and then you have to cut the whole arm. So this is the same, it's a matter of interpretation. But it's there already, the idea is there. So the two ideas, use of force, it's forbidden. The two ideas are except in self-defense and except when there's a situation of massive violations of human rights, of annexation like in Crimea. Such issues, very important, where the Security Council can take action. And what kind of action? It's up to him. It can use severe diplomatic relation. Is the Security Council now decided to use force against Russia? No. What he decided? He decided to freeze the assets of some sanctions. Yes. It starts with this. It starts with this. But even this, the Security Council cannot do it. because Russia is there and Russia has the veto. It's politics, you know, you are international relations. So law is just a mean, but behind the means, it's politics. And in order to agree to make, that's why the making of the law is so slow, so slow. States are still sovereign to accept or not some obligations. But all the states of the world, almost all of them, has accepted the Charter. 193 states have accepted the Charter and the obligations, which are here. Use of force, this is a principle. So the first principle is state sovereignty. The second principle is non-use of force. What is the other third one, which is important, which is in the Charter?
The intervention?
No, intervention. Where is intervention? It's linked to the 7. Paragraph 7 is linked to the.
I just said that I took international law and world politics course.
Oh, you took international law, okay.
No.
So because maybe it's very technical, but it's important for you to understand the rest, to understand the whole human rights system. So Article 2, Paragraph 3. Peaceful settlement of disputes.
All members shall settle their international dispute by peaceful means in such a manner that international peace and security and justice are not endangered.
Exactly. So you see, if I were to draft the Charter, I would have put Paragraph 3 and Paragraph, I would have reverse. I would have first say it's forbidden to use war, Paragraph 3, and Paragraph 4, I would say you can go to solve your issues with peaceful means. So you see, this is another issue with another principle. Don't use war, but use peaceful means. Third principle. Afterward, the principle number 5 is also important, but it's just the consequences of the other ones. It's just cooperation, etc. It's the duty to fulfill your obligation in good faith. What does that mean? Fulfill your obligation in good faith. If I do a contract with you, you sell me your pen, I buy your pen. There's a contract. We do a contract. So you have to respect your words. If I pay you the money, you have to give me the pen. You have to do it in good faith. And the same, if you give me your pen, I have to give you the money. If I don't give you the money, I'm not in good faith. Because I have accepted, and you have accepted to enter into a deal with me, to sell me your pen or whatever. It's a contract. You have to respect your contract, I have to respect the contract. And it's the same at the international level. When you have accepted an obligation as a state, when you have made a treaty with another state, you have to do it in good faith. Good faith. It's with respect, with nif. You have it's something with nif. I don't know if this word exists in Arabic. Nif. Nif. Honor. You have himma. Maybe. Yeah. So do you understand this principle? Yes. But it's less important than the 3 principles that I just talked of: sovereignty, non-use of force, and peaceful settlement of dispute. This is important. Peaceful settlement of dispute. So you wanted to read another paragraph you wanted to jump to another part of the Charter before, when I say, let's come back to Article 2. You wanted to go where, Wafta?
Yes, Article 5. Sorry, yeah, 5.
No, we forgot about that. You wanted to go somewhere. Chapter?
NATO.
No, before. NATO, you're jumping again. Article 33. Article 33, it's a chapter, it's a new chapter. So maybe I can now delete all of this, because I think all this, you understood this. International use of force, okay. Now you know that force is forbidden. Huh? State sovereignty, I keep it because it's very important. Okay. Da-da-da. Okay. So, use of force, khalas, up. You think all the states are happy with this?
No.
Who are supposed to be happy and who are supposed not to be happy?
The ones that did wrong are happy because no one can come and really bomb them for doing something wrong.
Okay.
But the people who want back, they want revenge, or they want whatever
Okay.
they gave back, or don't like the way people are treated, want to use force.
Used to use force. And on most of all, the ones who have the weapons to use,
Yeah.
the
Yes.
most powerful one, they still want to use force
Yeah.
because they have the weapons. And the weak states, they say, let's make peace because they don't have any choice. They don't have any weapons, you know. So for that, so the use of force was still lots of discussion. But finally they say, okay, let's khalas, we don't use force. Let's peaceful settlement of dispute. Let's limit our sovereignty. They limited their sovereignty. Let's settle our dispute in a peaceful way. Article 2, paragraph 3 of the Charter. Article 2, paragraph 3. And this, you have to read it, because this is a legal document. You have to read it. It's like a contract when you buy a, you see, when you, how do you say that? Download an application or whatever. There's always accept or not accept. Huh? You never read it. I never read this myself. It's 5 pages, written like this. So you jump to the application. Yes, I accept without reading. But you have to read everything normally. And this is the same with this. Everything is connected. That's why you need lawyers. Article 33 says, can you say what Article 33 says, please? Article 33, it's a chapter, it's a new chapter.
Okay.
It's chapter 5.
Which number?
Article 33, 33.
Want me to read it?
Yes, please.
The first one?
Yes. What is the title of the chapter?
Pacific Settlement of Dispute.
It's very important, Pacific settlement. And what is Article 3 saying?
Article 33?
Yes, yes.
The parties to any dispute, the continuance of which is likely to endanger the maintenance of international peace and security, shall first of all seek a solution by negotiation, inquiry, mediation, consultation, arbitration, judicial settlement, resort to regional agencies or arrangements or other peaceful means of their own choice.
What is the important word?
First, before anything, you have to like talk to each other and see.
Okay.
Arbitration.
Yeah.
Oh, what
Or
is what?
mediation even.
But you finish the sentence with, you finish your reading with something very important. Okay. Choice. Choice. Choice is very important. Oh, yeah. Choice. So you have the principle of settlement of dispute. But again, states' sovereignty. They don't, you know, states, they always want to do whatever they want. No, they don't want other states to tell what you have to do. First, they don't want other states to say you cannot use of force. Why shall I want to use force? I have guns. So then you have a consensus saying, okay, I will not use guns. I'm a member of the big family of the United Nations. I accept not to use guns. I accept to use peaceful settlement of disputes. I abide. I will, if I have a fight, if I have a dispute with you, I will use one of the means which are in Article 33. And Article 33 is providing for some means. What are the means? Can you?
Read it again.
Yes.
Negotiation, inquiry.
Negotiation?
Negotiation, inquiry.
Yes, negotiation. What is negotiation? If you have a dispute with somebody, you negotiate.
Like it's kind of like a compromise. Okay, fine.
Find the middle.
Yeah.
You talk.
Yeah.
First you talk, huh? And then, what else?
Inquiry.
Inquiry, that means
You ask
what's wrong, yes.
And then it's a mediation. You can bring another party. To be
Another party, yes. And then?
Conciliation.
Yes. And then?
Arbitration.
And then?
Judicial settlement.
Yes.
We resort to regional agencies or arrangements.
Okay.
Or other peaceful.
You see, it's a comprehensive provision. There's everything in it. But the most important word is the choice. You can choose any of them. Please, don't go to war. Please settle your dispute. We don't oblige you to choose one of them. Choose one of them and try to settle it. Choose one of them. Again, sovereignty.
Yeah.
We try to accommodate you. You know, we don't want to oblige you because you are a sovereign state. But the only thing, the bottom line, don't use force anymore. Just go use a peaceful. We don't impose on you which peaceful mean, but choose one. Freedom of choice. So the principle is peaceful settlement of dispute, as a compulsory, and to take care of your sovereignty, your sensitivity. You can choose which one you want. You can choose. You can start negotiation. You can start. You can go to the judge, but the judge is not compulsory. Huh?
Pay money.
To go to the judge?
Yes, the country pays
For what?
for disputes.
For disputes? You pay the judge?
We pay for going to the international law for the
Court?
judge. Yeah, the international court. Each country, if they have any dispute,
Yes.
they need to basically pay for the case. You know. For
You think this is the reason why they don't go to the international court?
No,
no, that's
No,
not
no,
the
no.
reason. I haven't said that.
the reason why if a two country they don't go for international court, I know that both of them should agree on going. If a country went and accused the other country of doing
Okay.
something,
Yes.
they cannot like take the case to the international court.
Okay.
Unless it's agreed upon the other party.
Okay,
Both of the
okay.
parties should
Good,
agree.
good. That's the ideas. Okay. So we come back to Article 33 now. So you have soft means and you have hard means. Which are the softest means which are mentioned in the Article 33? Which are the softest? Negotiation? Okay, negotiation. What means? Yeah. Negotiation.
Between two parties.
Okay, it can be 3 or 4.
Yes.
So this is negotiation. Okay. Negotiation, that means you sit around the table and you talk. Only you, both of you. And then, if you arrive to if there's no solution, what do you do?
Then we have to go to international court of justice.
Maybe. Or you go to something else. What do you do? What
I ask them what's the problem
an inquiry. But the inquiry is made by whom?
by someone else. Yeah.
Which third party?
Security Council should interfere.
You are state. You are state. You have a problem
I bring
together.
A state that we agree
You are two
upon.
states. You are states. You are negotiating, and you cannot agree. You cannot agree to whom belong this bottle of water. It's not a bottle of water. To who belong this river? It's a river, and it's water. It's important for your population. You cannot. You started war, but it.
I bring another party that's not biased,
Yes.
like another state that we both accept.
Okay. Mediation. You bring somebody in the picture. Mediation. Yeah? You ask another state or another individual to ask mediation. Are you going to bring anybody? Any state? No. You are sovereign. You are afraid that you want to win the case. So who are you going to bring? Somebody that you trust. Both of you are trusting. Because you wanted to bring Fatima, and you want to bring Wafta. But you don't trust. You say, no, I don't need Fatima, I don't need Wafta. We need somebody else. I trust Maha better. So, okay, you bring somebody you trust. This is what's happening now in Syria. in Syria, they brought Brahimi, the former Minister for Foreign Affairs of Algeria, who is a mediator. Who is a mediator? The UN is mediating. In between, it's the UN and it's the Arab League. They trusted. They trust. Both parties are trusting the UN and the Arab League because they consider that they are international organizations and they are neutral. So this is mediation. Somebody comes and discusses with you. You have please discuss. Hamna, maybe you should discuss a little bit with Hamda. You're right, I know that you're right, but let a little bit of your rights, then we agree on agreement. It's better to agree. Even if you lose a little bit, you lose a little bit. Please just do it. And then I leave. And I just... This is mediation. This is mediation. But it's not... you trust me, yeah? I'm somebody independent. Either I'm a state or I'm a wise man. I can be an international organization. I can be a wise person, like a king, like Nelson Mandela. Was used sometimes because you trust him as a person. So he comes and makes you discuss together. During the war between the fight between the US and Iran, after the hostages in 1979, Algeria started the mediation because they didn't want to talk. The US and the Iranian government, they didn't want to talk. Khomeini, and at that time the US government, they didn't want to talk. So Algeria was talking to the US, going to Washington to talk, and then they go to Tehran. The US is ready to make this compromise and go to Washington. Iran is ready to make this compromise. Please, what do you accept? And then they started to talk together. Algeria was a mediator. And it happens sometimes in relation that you are a mediator. And then what is the next one, which is mentioned? Conciliation. Conciliation. It's a bit similar as mediation. You know, those are distinctions, but sometimes it's mixed up. Huh? Conciliation, it's not only I discuss with Amna and Hamda, there are so many names that I have to... But I also bring my own solution. I say, please, this is my set. I think you should study this document. This is my understanding of to whom belong the river. This is a solution. Please discuss it. I think you should share both of it. You should share the river between two. Or maybe I should say, no, I think that the river belongs to Amna. So this is, I bring another element. Not only I mediate, I bring you together, but I give my own proposal. And then you decide. But still, you're not obliged to follow my advice. It's very soft, it's political. So this is mediation, negotiation, conciliation. And then what's up? What's the new?
Arbitration.
Arbitration is something different. Yeah. Okay, so this is mediation. What is this thing? What is arbitration?
You have to, in mediation, you don't have to take the advice of the person in the middle.
Yes.
But in arbitration, whatever the person in the middle decides, you're obliged to go by it.
Voila. So this is arbitration. And arbitration. You choose an arbitrator. Arbitration. The difference is that you accept to abide by the solution. Eh? And mostly arbitration, you have to use international law. But here, when it was to negotiation, meditation, sometimes you need some meditation to mediate. Conciliation, you can use whatever you want, even if it's not international law. Even if I know that this river belongs to Amna, it's international law, give it to her. But in order to save peace, I can say, please, just use some equity. I know that this water belongs to you, but the population of the other state is starving. They don't have water. Give it a little bit. Give your rights, please. Give your rights. I know that international law is on your side. But the population of Hamda, the country Hamda, they don't have the Hamdanese people. They don't have water. Give them a little bit. Give of your rights. It's not international law. It's equity. Equity or... You know that you have the right, but still. But when it comes to arbitration, it's more international law. Then you have to apply the law. The law. You can also apply equity, but you have both of you to agree to tell the arbitration to use equity as well. No? So what is an arbitrator? Who is choosing the arbitrator?
Both countries.
Both parties. Eh?
Both parties have to agree upon it.
They have to agree upon. Eh? Again, it comes back to trust.
Yeah.
Sovereign states, sovereignty. Nobody can impose on you something. The only thing we can impose on you is not to do war. And then you can choose the means you want to. So if you accept arbitration, you can choose your arbitrators. And you're going to choose your arbitrators. And normally, how many arbitrators are there in a case? It can be 1, it can be 3, it can be 5. Because at least there should be a decision made. If you choose 2 arbitrators, is it possible to have 2 arbitrators?
50-50.
It will be 50-50. If you have 1, you can decide 1. Normally, when it's 1, it's a head of state. The head of state comes, a former head of state, and can make a sentence. Or a king, he can decide. Because you trust me as a king, I make the arbitration. But when I decide, it's finished. I give right to one of you. Or I can cut the river in 2, but you have to respect it. Eh? But mostly it's 3. So each one of you choose an arbitrator that you trust, and the 2 of them, they choose another arbitrator, which they trust. And the one they choose is the president of the arbitration. And once it's decided on the basis of law or equity, if you ask, then it's decided, you have to accept. And it's done on the basis of a special treaty. You call that a compromise. It's an agreement, it's a special agreement. The two states are sitting together and they write the special agreement. We choose Mr. So-and-so to be part of the arbitration tribunal. The law which is going to be applicable is the law of those rules, etc. You choose everything. Everything is there. You even choose the secretariat, where the secretariat is going to be based. In Doha, in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, in The Hague, in Paris. You choose how the arbitrators are going to be paid. Because people need to be paid. So it's also there. The arbitrators will get, let's say, they will be paid $500 an hour. Or they will get, if it's billions of dollars, they will get 1% of the final result. So everything is in a special agreement. And once the special agreement has been signed by 2, it becomes a contract. And then you set up the arbitration. They meet 1 time, 2 times, many times. Each state has its own team of lawyers who comes to present the case. And at the end, the arbitration tribunal decides. And it's the end of the story. Finish. You cannot complain anymore. The other mean, what is the last mean? Judicial, eh? Judicial. This is the stricter judicial settlement. Again, this is the same. Law, international law. Judicial settlement, you apply international law. International law, the same.